say the pledge and a little silence afterwards. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence, please. It was interesting, Billy Graham just passed away, 99 years old. He made a famous statement once. A lot of people don't want to hear this. That's all right. We've taken God out of the classroom, and we've incorporated violence. Could be some truth to that, only time will tell.
I think it's already telling.
In theory, I should find out before any of the rest of you. But I'm not going to. I'm going to hang around after all the rest of you are gone. Okay.
I don't believe a word of it.
Oh, not necessarily here, Bob. Okay. Public, roll call. All three commissioners are here.
Yes, sir.
Public comment, please. Public, it says. Okay. Nobody wants to talk publicly. Administrative business.
A couple of items today. First of all, just wanted to recognize that the Register of Deeds did have money available in their tech fund to complete the transfer that was budgeted for. So we'll be completing that transfer. No actions needed because it is a budgeted transfer.
So it'll be put back into the general fund?
It is being transferred into the technology fund. So yeah, is that correct?
Other people can use it?
What we've used it for in the past is like GIS web design. Larry's used it.
I guess I'm mixed up here. Doesn't she get to the tech fund, and don't you get part of that tech fund, and the treasurer gets part of that tech fund?
Back in 2015, when legislation had passed reducing mortgage registration tax, part of that change in the law allowed a $1 per document to go into the clerk tech fund, the treasurer tech fund, and then the Register of Deeds receives, I believe, $2
right.
per document. And
Okay.
yes, there are now three tech
Three,
funds.
right, okay. I was thinking there was three.
You're right.
Okay.
We use these funds as they're transferred for technology and data
Right.
related.
So we don't have to vote on it or anything?
No, it's budgeted already.
Okay.
So, you did have on the schedule a possible executive session. We will not need that today, just to let you know.
Okay.
And then in the over the past few months or so, we have talked about off and on, I've mentioned it, the potential of looking at some of the departments and consolidating them down. Some of them, maybe the smaller departments, consolidating so that we have fewer departments. Not that we're looking to eliminate positions or anything, but just from an administrative oversight. We've discussed in the past having 17 individual departments report or be in interaction with the county administrator on a regular basis is a lot. And I'm moving forward with some of that. And I just wanted to talk to the board and see if what their desire was as far as, is it, as I identify these things, okay for me to move forward with it, or do I need to bring them for the board for approval? Just wanted your direction and guidance on that.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, for one thing, you won't be able to do anything with elected officials.
Well, I can't Without their permission and,
Right.
and yeah, without their permission and consent, that is accurate.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so
So
that's,
it's going to be, I don't even know who.
it'd be the departments
Chuck
that
McGaha,
report.
if they're what,
It'd
what's
be
he
the
had?
departments that report directly to the county administrator, not any of the elected official ones. And,
Right.
and some of the proposed changes may involve moving some of those departments under an elected official, again, with the consent and acknowledgement of the elected official doing that. And some of them may be just from department to department.
Okay.
You
My-
visualize any elected official not wanting to save the county money by consolidation?
No, I don't visualize that, no.
Okay.
What I'm visualizing is, and I'm not trying to pick on Janet here, but I'm going to pick on her anyway.
She's here.
Yeah.
No, none of the others are here. Let's pick on her.
Yeah, let's pick on Janet. Well, I guess my point will be is if we put Chuck McGaha, if we put him under someone that's not familiar with what he does or even close to familiar, how is that going to work?
Excuse me. Well, I think that the intent is that we identify the right place for them to go where they would fit in, and that wherever they go, that those people would have to have some kind of a knowledge or background in that. But honestly, the assumption would be then that I would know more about Chuck McGaha's position, since you use Chuck, than some other department would.
Yeah, I'm just using Chuck. I'm not saying.
I would, but what I would say is that would be for me to work with the department directors on both sides, the ones who I'm proposing the consolidation with and the one who I'm proposing to consolidate, to make sure that it's a good fit. My question is that as we work through those, do I need to bring those back to the board for approval, or is it okay to make those adjustments administratively?
I think I'd like to have him come back for approval. I'd like to know exactly what's happening. Maybe even talk to the department head that's being affected by this.
I'm
Yes.
assuming this is going to take some time because, you're going to have to, determine the efficiency, and also some departments we may have to stand alone per state statute or anything like that. So it's nothing that's going to happen overnight, I'm sure.
I agree.
Well, those are things that, a lot of those things have already been looking into and
Okay.
working on, so.
I guess I'm behind.
Again, so I do acknowledge that fact, but those are some
Okay.
things I'm working on. But before I started sitting down with some of the departments that may be affected, I wanted to know what the direction for the board was. Again, administratively, I will work through it and make sure the process is right and that it's a good fit before it happens. However, I would suspect that there aren't many departments that want to lose their standalone status. And my concern is, as I start working through these, that there's a potential that they will petition the board to intervene. So that's why I'm saying, should I bring it to you first before I even talk to these departments to get that out of the way?
That was my reason for bringing it to the board first.
Or can I handle it administratively, knowing that the board supports whatever decisions are made?
Well, the county's been working on this for years. I mean, Public Works has taken in noxious weed, they've taken in buildings and grounds, they've taken in solid waste. It's all under the Public Works umbrella. So I think previous boards have recognized that there's some efficiencies that could be improved on. So I'd say it's all worth looking at.
Well, why don't I go down the middle?
Huh?
I'll go down the middle.
You'll go down the middle?
Yeah, all I would like to know is Yeah, you've moved A into C. But I'd like to know that. There are things that I think the commissioners ought to know, but do I want to get into I'm going to pick a subject that's city, county, dispatch. I really don't want to hear any, well, I don't want to lose my authority. To me, that's called whining. We're here to set policy and do the budget. This is hopefully going to be the year of the taxpayer. I think that we've needed to do this for a long time. We're finding out now organizations that we don't control. They do whatever they want. That's called the sheriff. We do have his budget, but he can come back later on the budget and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to do what I want to do because I need 5 more deputies. I have a thing that I'm going to hand out at budget time, and it's from the mayor of Kansas City. If I know the mayor of Kansas City?
Oh, it used to be Mr. Holland.
Yeah, that's Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Sly James.
Sly James. I love
James.
that name. You know, that is the most beautiful name. I'd like to meet him personally. But he made the comment on the 14th, and his comment was, police, we're tired of you coming in and saying we need more money. He said 70%, 76% of the budget goes to police and fire. I think there are other things in our budget and anything that these department heads, and that's what he said. You want more money, and you figure out how to get it rather than saying, I want more money. Okay, city, you know, they've just passed a resolution that they can now charge anybody living in the city for their stormwater. Me, I would have added that on with that resolution saying we're going to charge everybody $75. In the business, we're going to charge them $6,500. I'd add that to it so a person could say, man, I think I'm going to do a petition against this. I don't want to, I've got 3 businesses, I don't want to pay $20,000 more. But we always like to pass the resolution, then we come back, which is open for protest, but the price tags aren't open for protest. Yeah, you can go and sit in a meeting, but they're about to get $50 million. They haven't programmed that for anything. Now we're doing some programming, roads, bridges, where our county money should go, but they're not directing. So we got a 1% sales tax from the taxpayer, which I thought was very generous, and now we're not going to get that because the city wants it. Well, wait a minute, that's the county money. We gave you $5 million, and now we're, you know, the city's figured out how to do it. They just changed the rule on who can run for office. You used to have a statement you couldn't run for office for a year. Well, they did away with that, and they just voted that out, and now you've got one person filing. I hear there's going to be another. Both of them are city people, and they're going to say, let's see how much of this $97 million we're theoretically going to get is going to go to the cities. So if you want more money, sheriff or clerk, then you look in your little dictionary and say, this is how we're going to get more money, because I want to consolidate. I want to get this operation smaller so you guys don't have so much to do up here with setting policy and setting the budget. So I want to know that it's being done, but do I want to know all the intricacies, and are the department heads going to come and say, you know, I'm really losing a lot of authority here, and I can't live with it. I don't know anybody that can't live with losing a little bit of their authority. They don't lose anything. It's still going to be the same process. And some down the line somewhere, if somebody's got a complaint, you know, they come before us. So that's why I think we ought to have a professional administrator, and he runs it, and we can set that as policy if you want, Bob, but I don't think we need all the dissertation unless he can never satisfy him, then he can come before us and say, you know, I'm dissatisfied with this, and we can say why. So,
Okay.
That was my
yeah,
intention.
okay. So is it consensus that?
It is, I think. I mean, I think Mr. Lawfer runs the day-to-day operations. It's his job.
Very good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have anything? I think that's it for administrative business.
That's all you have?
That's all I have.
You have anything?
Yeah, on the 13th, I attended the Little Stranger Church dinner. They're having a fundraiser to restore that church that's out there on Tongi Road and Stranger Road. Good turnout. I mean, the group is well organized. I think the whole county should support this. I think this project will get done. Real good food, and
That's important.
that is very important. And the Tonganoxie FFA is having a breakfast on Saturday morning at the Tonganoxie High School. That's always a good turn, or a good event, good food. Notice I associate everything with that. So Saturday morning at Tonganoxie High School, FFA, and I'm getting some calls and emails about animal control. So I think we opened up that box.
Well,
People are interested in some animal control and some statistics like we were talking about that we wanted. So I'm just saying there's going to be probably a lot more discussion in the future on animal control in the resident or rural areas.
It's going to be like Tyson, you think? 2,000 people coming in, talking about animal control?
I don't think we need that many animal control officers.
Okay, do we want to work on the roads, or do we want to spend money on that?
I think we're just going to have to look at the numbers. Look at the numbers to see what the needs are, or what the options are, whether, you know, the county may be in the level where we need to enter into a contract with some other city that provides animal control or something.
Maybe we need to ask the sheriff if we could get numbers from him.
And I think
Last time
Mr.
this
Lawford
came
was
up-
going to do that.
Yeah, last time we were discussing this, we actually asked to get some numbers, and I've talked to the sheriff. They're preparing them, and in March we'll bring them in. They'll be prepared to talk about the numbers.
So we
but
could get it before budget time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It will surprise you just how low that number is.
That's right.
Okay.
So,
Well, this,
I mean, I get what you're saying, because there are a lot of people that are very passionate. They have a dog, or they have 2 or 3 dogs, and they're like family to them. Well, if they see a dog running loose, they think, oh, we got a stray dog. Well, it's probably a neighbor's dog, or somebody else's dog farther over. And I'm not saying that we don't need to kind of have somebody police this type of thing, but at the same time, if it's Mark's dog, you know, do we want to pick it up, bring it in, and then charge Mark $25 to get his dog back?
well, we'd probably have to have a county-wide dog registration or cat registration. And because how are we going to know it's Mark's dog?
Well, Mark needs to have his name.
Collar, yeah, if it's
Collar
been
on it.
vaccinated, but how many farmers load up their dogs and take them?
Well, we probably shouldn't do 182nd Street, we should save that money.
No, now we're gonna talk about roads here later.
Well, but I'm gonna save the money for animal control. How about birthright? Can you get into that too?
No,
No?
no.
the sheriff will be in March to talk about those numbers.
Very
Do
good.
you have a,
Um,
In abortion, you wanna talk about abortions?
no,
No.
we
Okay.
won't be talking about that.
But I think it's good to talk about, but hopefully the people, when they come up with a decision, will remember that decision. And if something comes, something has to go. So we'll just see where it goes and what kind of, might look at how many tickets he issues. You might bring that in, and he could issue more tickets, and we get an animal control. Okay, anything else, Doug?
No, sir, that's it.
Bob?
Nope.
I think the only thing I had was on one of the motions that was in the minutes on the Solid Waste Committee. That's the only thing I had Harold over here indicated about putting another employee. Ms. Salivard reported that there are 2 members that do not show up. Have we gone anywhere with that?
Actually, the Solid Waste Committee has looked into the makeup of the committee, and they have a resolution that they've prepared that'll be on next week for you to
Okay.
consider.
Very good. Okay. I have I had brought it up once before to the clerk. You know,
She's gonna quit coming to our meetings.
yeah, I have,
No, I'm getting picked on today.
yeah, you're pickable. Some of us are despicable, you're despicable, so that's good. I'm really concerned about the Russians, you know?
About the what?
Russians, yeah, getting into our election.
I thought that's what you said, but I would want to make sure I was hearing right.
I just want to get ahead of the program, and I have a little dissertation. It says vote by mail. We're running into the problems, manpower, weather power. It'd be nice if we'd had election the last day or so. Voting machines, the times, savings, and this was an article, all mail elections. I think it's something that we need to look into. We want to get more people there, and I think statistics show that more people will vote by mail than coming in. Maybe wrong on that. I thought I heard that once. And it depends whether it's a, you know, presidential, which election it is. If it's a special, there might be some people. But I would like to see us getting into doing all-mail elections, just like in the boards,
I'd like that too. I do.
okay? Douglas?
Well, does the state statute require you to hold elections in polling places?
Well, I think the state...
Well,
Yeah.
we have the lady that can tell us right here.
Yeah, she's going to tell us, I know that.
I am a proponent of all mail ballot elections because we have seen the increase in voter turnout when we have all mail. And, but statutorily, I cannot have a mail ballot election if there is an actual individual on the ballot. You can only have a mail ballot for questions, bond questions or sales tax question. And the County Clerks Association and Election Official Association we have pushed for mail ballot elections because there is an overwhelming desire to have that, I do believe, with most counties in Kansas. But until there is legislative action, you know, my hands are tied, absolutely tied. Currently, our Secretary of State does not want to pursue all mail ballot elections for the state of Kansas, as has past Secretary of States. One of the reasons would be fraud. They think that there could be some fraud with through the mail, somebody else voting somebody's ballot, something like that. So.
That takes place today, though, doesn't it?
What?
That takes place today. I can remember bringing in 3 or 4 ballots.
Well,
One for my mother.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No, not Grandpa. He did.
I see what you're getting at, and my father always wanted to vote right up until the time he passed. And Janet was so good, and she sent it wherever he was at. I told her, and she sent the ballot to him. When I got out there, he said, well, I voted, but I don't know some of these others, so can you? And so what I did was I gave him the description of each person that was running for a certain office. And he would ask me, he says, well, which one do you think is the best candidate? And I said, I can't tell you that. I said, that's for you to decide. And I think if more people would do that with their elderly parents, I think that we could go with the mail ballot. But of course, we've always got to have that certain few that wants Joe Blow to be elected.
Right. So, but, you know, like I say, we have fraud today,
Right.
and it's not minor fraud. Now, all of my votes, my extra votes have all disappeared. They've passed on.
Right, mine too.
Yeah. So, and here again, I would tell them, you know, I'm not gonna tell you who to vote for. Is there anybody on there you wanna vote for? And, you know, Arden Wright. Arden Wright.
You're talking way long time ago.
Yeah, dang right.
I knew Arden
Wasn't
Ryan.
he a motorcycle cop?
I wanna vote for Arden. Right.
No, I don't think Arden's around anymore.
Yeah. It's motorcycle.
Wasn't he a police officer in town?
Yeah. You know, there's fraud today, but you said, unless there's a name on there, well, we're about to have a vote on 5 county commissioners. It could be a mail-in. Unless you're gonna say, well, the 5 county commissioners, I want Betsy and I want Susie, then it has to be sent out. But that's not gonna be a part of it.
Well, as far as the 5-member commission, that question will go on the November ballot if there are sufficient signatures turned in on the petition that's being gathered. So, but, you know, really, no matter how much I want to do all mail or the board directs me, I can't do it unless it's a question of.
Well, we can get a hold of Pittman, and we get a hold of Fitzgerald and say, you know, your people are sitting up there doing nothing. And you can send them, and I don't want to use the first state on here because I don't care about the first state one way or the other. That's California. I don't care about anything that California does. But, man, here's Colorado. I don't know if I care about, you know, the laced cookies and all that, you know, that city. But there's all these that special elections for Maryland, Minnesota, Missouri. They all have different things. Oregon is all elections. Now, Oregon is maybe a state to look to Utah. Jurisdictions may decide to conduct. Isn't that nice? They're saying we're intelligent enough to know what we, for Leavenworth, Washington, the state of Washington, not the city, the state of Washington, all elections, you know. So you send them this data, and say, would you please do something for us because we would like to go to all mail elections. We're forcing a lot of elderly people out on the road late at night and blah, blah, blah. Put all the things that you have that you know go on and say, we would like some correction to this, and there shouldn't be any county that says no and we don't care what Secretary of State says.
Well, we can certainly, I'll prepare a letter to our legislators and have the board sign it. I will sign it, and
we'll see if we have any effect with our legislature.
there you go.
Is that a consensus with everybody?
It is with
Yes,
me.
sir.
Very good. I don't think there's anything else. Let's see. We're down to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes and approval of the next week's schedule, approval of the check register, and approve and do the OCBs. I did have something on the check register, and that was on page 2, 8, and 10. Let's see if it is. No, it's 4, 8, and 10. Excuse me. At the top, $800 for transports. Don't we have a transport vehicle? Sheriff?
They do have a van that they do some transports with when they're hauling them back and forth to court in different counties or whatever.
I wonder who, and it doesn't say who we're paying this to, but there were 5 transports for 130, and 4, and 1 for 150, and I just wonder. you know,
Actually, it's First Call Incorporated is who that's paid for. If you look at the previous page, right at the bottom of the previous page is where.
on the previous page. Okay, First Call. Who is First Call? Is it the local,
It's like the coroner.
the coroner?
Those are the transports.
Those are, not a prisoner going from, oh.
No, no, they're not going anywhere.
Well, that's
They
good.
got one
No,
last year.
that's something nice to know. I mean,
Well, they might be going somewhere, but
yeah.
let's not get into this.
Well, maybe we ought to have a committee form.
No, we don't need no committee.
You
That's beautiful.
offer
But you
your
and Doug-
services.
I make a motion that you and Doug are on that committee.
Mr. Klemp will offer
Oh.
his services.
No more humor.
No,
Okay, let's clean this up.
okay.
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 Page 8.
Bottom of page 8.
8.
How many cities do we have? Well, we all know the cities. All of them have to have signs. National Sign Company. Been brought up before. No one ever goes anywhere with it. It just dies. Because the city doesn't want to lose their, I guess the cities don't want to lose their sign departments because, you know, that's just like losing your police department or your fire department. I mean, that's critical. You lose your sign department, have one group of people, stop signs, you know, they're basically all the same. Yield signs are all the same. The poles they put them up on, about all the same. Well, we just spent $4,546.52 for materials, blank is what it is. So they buy, buy blank. Speed signs are all the same. So I would like for someone to take that and just, I don't know whether that's Public Works that approaches Public Works at different cities, but it'd be nice to have a consolidation where you're not having 1 or 2 employees, you've got to have a couple trucks, and you have to have replacement employees, got to have vacation, somebody knows how to make a sign. I would imagine that some money along with dispatching, dispatching, extremely important, but somebody doesn't think it's important. The city has 3 employees on duty supposedly every day. The county has normally 2, but some days has 3. They're very good, friendly people. I enjoy some of them I know when I have a situation, a dispatch. But there's so many areas where we can start consolidating. I don't care who's in charge of it, but you know, the city wants to have a big sign company, that's fine. But I think there needs to be some consolidation, not just spending taxpayer money, and you know, people will complain when they get their tax statements, but I mention these things because I want people to get involved. You know, we're just sitting out here smelling the roses. Somehow we got to start being frugal with our money.
Commissioner, you had mentioned this once before, maybe twice before, and I did have Public Works put together a sheet that basically puts our cost on all the signs that we make, and I sent it out to all the cities and offered that service to them, that if they'd like to start utilizing our sign shop, that we'd be more than happy to provide that. Obviously, we can't provide 400 signs in a week or anything like that, but we would do what we could to fulfill any requests. I sent it to all of the incorporated cities in the county, and it'd be at their option whether they would participate in that or not.
Have we received any answer from any of them?
Just a few back that said thanks for the offer. We'll look at how this compares to what we're currently paying.
We'll look into it. Very good, I've heard that before. Okay. I might follow up, since we did send it out, so we're coming up on budget time. We would like to, because it would save money, I don't care what anybody says. And we don't have to go with all the cities, you know.
Any of them that choose to participate.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think these can have the sign department, but maybe they do. Lynn?
They have a need for signs.
Yeah, and I sent it to
I
Easton.
think
and sent it to
they all
Lynn.
have need for
Yeah.
signs.
So I would think they would be interested, and maybe small governments are a little bit more frugal with their money. And the last one was, no, I'm not even going to ask it, because you're going to try to embarrass me. I know.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Page
Oh,
10.
no, I'm not
Yes,
even-
she is.
Yeah, she is ready to.
She's ready to pounce.
So I'll go for a motion to do the consent agenda.
Motion for,
To
to approve
yeah.
the consent agenda.
Okay,
I'll second it.
been moved and seconded. How you vote, Bob?
Aye.
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 Very good. Okay, next is information system.
Good morning.
Morning, Larry.
I trust you received my written report.
Received it.
Nothing on this report warrants being highlighted to the commission, in my opinion. However, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
I have none.
Robert?
I thought I had one here. I got a letter from 911, and it's the billing letter that we get, Janet and I's on. I did want to let everyone know that there is a function coming up for 35 years that 911 has been in existence, I guess, in Leavenworth County, and they're going to have a function, dinner or whatever, and I didn't know if they had invited IT or anything like
No,
that.
I'm completely unaware of this.
Okay.
It's interesting. So 35 years
Yeah,
is how long we've had 911 services in Kansas? Or anywhere?
As far as I know, anywhere.
I was unaware of that.
Where were
You
you
were
35 years ago?
At 15 years old, I don't think I cared about 911 then.
Probably needed it worse then.
So that would have been what, 35 years ago?
Yeah.
3, 11, take away.
Yes, you would not have been in school.
No, that's what she's here to do.
Oh,
We're here to get along.
okay.
You looking at 1983?
1983.
Yes, sir.
I can't get blamed for any of that, because I left at, what, 82, 78?
But you came back when we were putting all the street signs up for 911. You were here.
Were you here when they, yeah, okay. The only questions I have were when we got into the 218 budget up above. Does your budget run from January to December?
Yes.
Okay, do all of our budgets?
No, not all of them. We have a few departments that work off of the state's fiscal year
Yeah,
because of the
that's what I
grants
thought.
that they're funding.
Okay, because I'm looking up there, for the year, you've only expended 21,000 for personnel. I thought, man, that's a real tight budget. No,
Well, that was
okay, that's
fully
for,
reflecting, what,
Yeah.
maybe 3 pay periods by the
Yeah,
time
3
I did
pay
this report. 2
okay.
pay periods, I believe.
What I have down here, replacing dispatch consoles, 911, in the sheriff's office, see? We're already spending more money for dispatch. See how that goes? And they probably want different consoles than we want.
Well, not exactly. Considering that this is the 35th anniversary of 911, I guess, these consoles are being paid for by those wonderful 911 fees that everybody pays on their phone bill. These aren't coming out of the general fund.
That is true.
So this expense is
tax
picked
money.
up by the 911 funds, which the county does pay on our phone bills as well.
Yes.
Everybody does.
See, I just bought an ice box the other day, but I can't find anybody that will deliver ice, so I gotta have a special, the thing's,
Just open the lid.
oh,
Well,
Can't you just
No,
go cut
what's
it out
that?
of the pond?
Yeah.
Just sit it outside.
Set it on
Sit
the
it
porch.
outside, there's plenty of ice.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we have no further questions. Larry, you did good.
Well, thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Larry.
Sorry I ran on so long.
Next will be GIS quarterly report.
Good morning, Jeff.
In the last quarter, in addition to maintenance of all our existing layers, we constantly keep hundreds of different map layers current with any changes as they happen. This takes about 70% of our time. When a tax district boundary changes, gravel road is paved, a census block changed, a pond is built, a street vacated, a person is buried, a new fire hydrant's put in, a creek bank moves, an oil well is drilled, a new house is built, or a structure is torn down, or city limits changes, we update all of our maps as they happen. So in addition to maintenance of those layers, there's some new layers we're working on creating. We're assisting planning and zoning with what I call the Jericho project. This is a new layer showing private drinking wells and septic systems. You'd be amazed at how many old wells exist out there that are way too close to septic systems. The state requires a new drinking well to be permitted, but we estimate only about 60% of people's drinking wells ever got permitted and went through that state permit process. So this is a lot of boots on the ground and some knocking on doors to get this thing as accurate as possible. But planning
Is there a
zoning.
mandate on time on that?
There is none. I mean, this is a project planning and zoning just chose. Jeff, thought it was important enough. It's actually a project I started about 10 years ago, but it's such a big project, I had to abandon it for more important
So
things.
is there any need to go out there and knock on doors, If they're not interested, we ended up eating a turkey that was contaminating our well, so, I know there's somebody gonna be against that, eating the turkey.
Yes. So far, I don't think anybody's against it, but it's just started, so you know how that goes. It's just a matter of time. So I would estimate about a year. It's probably going to take a year. The person that he's got designated to work on this and the resources and then the GIS layers that I was able to provide to him already to save a lot of labor, it's still going to take probably about a year to complete this. Just an estimate.
Is there any inspection when a home is sold for that kind of thing?
Not on the county level.
It's required. No.
Well, but I mean, do we still require septic tanks to be inspected when a home
Yeah,
is
the new
sold?
rules.
So is that something?
Definitely. Yeah, the new rules
Yeah.
are in it.
Yeah, it's on new, not
on new.
on
It probably-
existing
Right.
septic tanks.
They wouldn't have any
Yeah, the
wells
rules.
necessarily, they could have.
Yeah, the rules in place today prevent this kind of thing from happening. What they're looking for is the old ones, either the non-permitted wells or the septics that were put in later before they even did the inspections, stuff like that.
So I guess, when a home is sold and it has to pass inspection, the county doesn't get any record of the inspection of the septic system?
No.
No, city or county. It doesn't work that way. No, housing. Are you talking about?
For
septic
selling
system?
existing homes, a used home, and say the mortgage company requires an inspection, the county doesn't get any of that?
The county doesn't. And
We
the
don't
county
get any of
doesn't
that
require-
information?
Yeah, the only inspections required are by usually the lending institutions. So if you get into a situation where it's cash sale, there's no inspections done. And even if it is a lending institution involved, the county doesn't get information like that.
See, that's the thing that I've always thought, these lending institutions, when I got my first loan, it was one sheet, it was a later date, when I'd come in and I was buying a car. It was one sheet of paper, and I got the money before I even signed for the loan, I was 16. I don't know how I did that, but now, you got a portfolio about this thick. And I think it's interesting, they're interested in certain things, but to me, they're not really interested in the homes that are being built. That's where the criticalness ought to be, on the septics, on the wells, on you know, but no, they don't want to assume that. They want government to assume that. To me, the banks ought to be doing that. But it will never be done in our lifetime. The banks do it. They don't have the manpower they used to have. And I can't visualize the vice president of banking going out and inspecting the house. Maybe he would,
No, I doubt it.
but they could hire somebody.
Yeah. I do have a question for him when you're
Okay,
through.
go ahead.
You brought up oil wells. Somebody comes out and wants to drill an oil well on your property. Do they have to get a permit to drill that oil well?
Yeah, usually the company that drills wells is required to get a state permit for that.
Okay. Now, do they have to get a permit to drill a water well? And the water well I'm just talking about is for oil, because what they do is they drill a water well and then they flood the aquifer to force the water down into the oil.
You're
And
talking about fracking?
And kind of like fracking.
Uh-huh.
And that produces more oil for the well. Do they have to get a permit for that?
Well, drinking wells are typically a lot shallower. They're
Well, this is,
100
yeah,
feet.
this is not a drinking well. This
You're
is,
talking about the fracking the oil well?
well, they actually, it actually happened on my property. They had drilled a well and it ended up not being that great. And so they filled it in. Then they come back and said, well, we're going to re-drill that and frack it, and we're going to use it as a water well, and we're going to start dumping water down there.
Waste salt water from other
Salt
wells.
water down that, and that water will be pumped, and it's actually, a lot of it's going to the neighbors.
Yeah.
And I just wondered if some of this is being
It's
looked
monitored.
at.
Yeah, it's monitored by the state. I think what you're talking about is a waste well.
Right, it's a
They gotta-
wastewater well.
Yeah, when they have to get rid of the water from other wells, they'll
But
dump
see,
it down a
they're
well that
doing
didn't
it
hit.
for a purpose. They're not doing it just to get rid of the water. They're doing it for a purpose to help flood the zone so that you get more oil.
Okay, yeah, those are state permitted.
There is state permitted.
Yeah, and those are monitored a lot better than drinking wells. Drinking wells, especially in the older days, anybody could go drill a well and they
Right.
didn't even know they had to get a permit. But all your oil well drillers that I know of know you're supposed to get permitted. So whether it's going to be for wastewater or fracking or whatever the reason, there's different types of permits. So those are
I was
pretty
wondering
well.
if there was any permitting so that you could keep track of that kind of,
Yeah, and that's
process.
actually how we update our map is from the state office.
well, that's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah, the
was wondering
KCC
if
office.
that's how you updated your
Yeah.
maps.
Yeah, we get our information directly from KCC, who
Okay.
permits the wells, no matter what kind of wells they are, to do with oil. Different office for water wells,
Yeah.
so. The new 2018 aerial photo project is on track to be flown next month. This will provide new aerial photos to each county department that depends on them to do their jobs. We are part of the MARC Area Photo Acquisition Project. This makes the cost drop from around $60,000 if we were to fly on our own to about $35,000. Additionally, I talked to each of the cities to get them to agree to pay half of the cost to fly their respective areas. This makes the county cost down to about $22,000 to get the entire county flown. It's amazing to me that the change in technology and processes and working with the other cities where we've gotten that cost down from when I started here. We paid $300,000 to get aerial photos done, and we've got that all the way down to $22,000 now.
Exactly what you're talking about, Mr. Clint.
Yeah, I know, I don't understand. Do we really want to do that? We want to go from 300,000 down to 22,000? God,
It's pretty amazing.
Maybe we could have you fly it.
in a P-51.
Mhm.
God, thank you, Lord.
Crime maps we're working on for the county attorney's office is underway. This will delineate all the crime convictions in the county. We'll also be building maps that show locations of police reports. That's a way different map than the actual convictions number. I don't know if any of you use Zillow on the internet. You can search for a house that's for sale, and they'll have a button on there that will turn on a crime map. That's only available for those counties that have a map layer like this. So at the end of this, then Leavenworth County will also have that. We're working with Public Works to start a new mapping system called PubWorks. Keeps track of all the assets and projects that they're working with. The software first requires loading several GIS map layers like parcels, streets, aerial photos, topography, and et cetera in the system to make it work. This is a system that was designed from the GASB 34 days. So it works the same way. It keeps track of everything they're doing. It makes it easier for them to keep track of what's going on. We opened up a server link to the City of Leavenworth GIS Department to coordinate our NG911 map layer project. We maintain the NG911 maps for the entire county, including all the cities except for Leavenworth City and Fort Leavenworth. They link their data, the City of Leavenworth, to ours every Monday to facilitate the sheriff's dispatch for 911. Statutory-wise, as required by KSA 79-1459, the appraiser's parcel map, ag use, and soil maps have all been maintained as deeds, plats, and surveys and ordinances are processed from the register deeds on a daily basis. We receive about 15 deeds a day, about 1 plat or survey a week to process on these maps. This includes, this generates about 7,000 map changes a year. This includes straight name transfers, parcel splits and combinations, new subdivisions, changes in the right-of-way, vacation, city limits, et cetera. And budget-wise, we're on track where we should be for the year. See any problems there? Right in the process of updating our spreadsheet to the sheriff's spreadsheet, so we can turn that in the same as all the other departments with Mark. And that's all I've got.
Sounds like he's very busy. I'm just so glad that we don't take up a lot of his time taking gravel roads to paved.
I have a question. Got about 3 questions. Number 2, creation of new layers, good. What has been the response of the cities?
As far as the aerial photography? Or?
Yeah, replying, you know. Easton probably says, yeah, we'll participate. Linwood says that.
Easton and Linwood, we pretty much do all their mapping for them. But the other cities that have money, they're more than willing to participate in whatever projects we're helping them work with. We coordinate information back and forth. Addressing is a big project right now. The city's basically let me come up with new addresses for them to make sure that they fit in the 911 grid. We had a lot of issues with bad addresses, so to curtail that, they're working with us. Every time they get a new address, they'll call us up and say, hey, what do you think this address should be?
They haven't said, yeah, we're going to participate. Well, we want to participate. They could just use your program, couldn't they?
They don't have GIS. They don't have the software or the manpower. So we end up usually either working with their contractors or...
But can't they get your data by doing something?
Data as far as the GIS map.
Anything they want, a level.
Yeah, they use our web map a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yep. Yeah, they use it.
Because I read something the other day where it said the City of Leavenworth had requested some kind of information. So what I'm saying is, they really wouldn't have to maintain this if we're maintaining it, and they're participating with us, so they could really do away with their department and still be able to get all the information they need.
Well, that's kind of why Leavenworth created their GIS department, because we were mapping all the GIS layers for Leavenworth City, and it got so big that they decided to open up their own GIS department. The other cities are still small enough to where we basically do it for them,
yeah,
where they hire a contractor to do it.
That was the next question. What's the possibility of the city shutting down and utilizing us? They could. You know, they may have to pay us some money, but it sure wouldn't cost them what the, I don't know who their GIS person is or their mapping person. Now on number 3, statutory, does the state pay us anything to help us with the burdens that we have with the appraiser's office?
No.
Isn't that funny?
That ended with reappraisal.
That ended. Isn't that amazing?
Mandate.
Yeah.
We send all that data to them, and we're trusting them because they automatically get 1.5 mils of every county. So they don't care how much we go up because they're going to get that 1.5, and that's a lot of millions of dollars. So in that process, just a little punch of the wrong button could cost us a lot of money. All the counties, 105 of them. So,
Yeah, as far as I know, it's a statute that the appraiser has a mapper on staff to keep that up to date, but I think Bob's here. I don't think the state reimburses you at all for the mapping
They don't
position.
reimburse. They used to up until they have financial.
well, we'll get to that question when it comes to do they reimburse us for anything that they are in total control of? I mean, we have to have the personnel that supposedly do whatever they do, and we've got good personnel. Probably the state has good personnel, but I don't know that for sure. Okay, I don't have any more questions.
I don't have any.
We thank you for
Thanks,
your.
gentlemen.
Thank you, Jeff.
The next and last is, let's say county appraiser. Yeah, the county appraiser. Good morning, Bob.
Rob.
Yeah, good morning. Oh, that's Bob.
We're sending back change of value notices, 1st of March, which we're statutory required to do. 30,920 will go out in the mail, 1st of March. The property owners have 30 days from the date on the valuation notice to appeal that value. Property owners always have 2 chances to appeal. You do one or the other. They can appeal within 30 days. That's the easiest of our sending the change of value notices, or when they pay their taxes, they can pay them under protest. They can do one or the other. They can't do both. But they have 30 days from there. We also sent out approximately 5,000 personal property renditions. Taxpayers are required to file their personal property tax renditions by March 15th. If they're not filed by the 15th, then penalties start accumulated on them at 5% a month, up to 25%. And then failure to file is 50% if they don't file them at all. So those are due by March 15th. We've received approximately 40% of them back since we sent them out, and we've worked about half of those, so about 20%. We send change of value notices on those. They're due by May 1st, but we send them as we work them. So when we work one, we send them. So when we complete them, those as we go. We don't wait and hold them all at once. The next item is agricultural use values. The agricultural use values are set by the state of Kansas. They're based on landlord's share of net income as prescribed by law. And Kansas State University does the research behind it and puts the landlord's share of net income numbers together. They give those to the director of PVD, and then PVD capitalizes those into values by soil type, and then they give us those values and we apply them. Our job on that is to classify the land, crop, dry land, waste, whether it's ag or not ag, and apply those values. Now those values went up, crop ground went up 13.5%, and grass average in Livermore County, and grassland went up average of 4.2%. Those numbers are based on an 8-year average of landlord share of net income. And it's not just a straight 8-year average, it's an 8-year average of an 8-year average. That's why I included this ag use 8-year average. Even though landlord share of net income hasn't been going up, values are still going up. That is because of the way this works. So 2010, 11, 12, 13 are still high years for landlord share of net income. As you can see for 2018 values, and it's 2 years delayed. So 2016 is the newest year that came on. But 2016 only makes up 1.56% of the total overall. 2009 was the most important year. So those years as they come on, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, still had increase in values. Those numbers are going to become more important. Values are still going to go up for a few more years. It takes a long time for using this. The method was adopted, I believe, to keep values from jumping up and down from one year to the next. But what happens is, they don't go going down, they're still going up is what happens. So on the bottom of that sheet there, just a hypothetical situation, if the landlord's share of the income doubled $100 to $200, it would take 15 years for our values to reflect that $200 jump under this method. So if they jumped and stayed there. So that's just kind of a demonstration to show why that is happening. If you get questions, that sort of thing, when we get questions, we try to explain this is why it's happening. It's a formula. It's based on state law. That formula has been tested in court.
I guess that's efficiency, 15 years to
Right,
efficiency.
yeah, it's efficiency.
That was if it
Yeah.
jumped up
Yeah.
and stayed there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is, I received in the mail a, kind of like a census report on agricultural ground. And it mandates that I have to fill this out and send it into the government. Do you get any response back from this, or do you?
We
do
do
you know
not
what I'm talking-
directly, that's the Kansas Ag Statistics is what does that, and that's where they're getting these numbers from.
I wondered
They're
if that's where they
getting
were getting.
But we, at the local level, really don't take part in any of that,
Yeah.
so.
They mandate that you do this or else. I mean,
Yeah. And you're probably participating in some government programs too, probably why they, so.
right.
Next item, sales and building permits. I included a list of, for your information of average sale prices. Now that's residential, and I broke them out by cities. I don't have commercial in there because there's such a few number of commercial sales, and many varying different types of commercial properties and ranges of value of those properties that would jump all over the place. And it gives you the number of new building, how many new homes we have built. We went from 213 in the county, 285, and this year most of those, if you see where most of those, that increase was in rural areas and in Tonganoxie started building quite a few more. They developed, they had the lots platted, but they've been developing some lots that were platted already. The average sale price went up 10% from last year to this year. So the number of bank resales is still dropping. It's down to 6.5%. At one time, 2010, 2011, during the recession, it was up to 25% of our sales were bank foreclosed sales. So that number's dropped considerably. The next item I have is sales ratio, a little explanation. This is basically what percent we're valuing. When you compare what a house sells for to our value, where we're at in our values. These are median ratios. Our median ratio cannot fall below 90% or go above 110%. We're at total county at 93.6%. These are my numbers, my ratio numbers. We haven't received the official ratio report yet from the state of Kansas. They're usually pretty similar, but they do a sampling, so this is my numbers using all the sales. And I broke it out by city there too. The 93.6% in the time I've worked here, 19 years, that's the lowest we've been. Even when values were going up, we were about 95% previously have been slow. But the market kind of turned around on us. We're usually a little bit behind the market. And so we were reluctant a little bit last year and a few years to raise values as much. Given that, my last sheet of paper is what values increased, how much values went up. This is total valuation. So if you look at my paper, I've got 2017 assessed value, 2018 assessed value, the percent of total change, and the reval percent change and remodel new construction. So the total is due to all causes. Reval is just that. Is just those numbers taken out what percent we have for new construction and remodeling, what we added due to new construction and remodeling. We have to track those numbers, what we add due to remodeling new construction on a parcel by parcel basis for the property tax lid legislation. So we take those numbers out. So residential, total county residential, total of 7% increase. 4% of that was due to revaluation and 2.3% of that was due to remodeling. Commercial, 3.1%, and all that, actually I put 3.2% of that was due to, we added 3.2% in new construction, so actually a negative 0.1% on valuation. So that doesn't mean they all went down. I did include a sheet of paper on the next page that'll explain some of the breakdowns, but more or less they stayed the same, or some may have went up a little bit, some may have went down a little bit, some. So, and then I broke it. Total county 6.4% is the total valuation increase. This is assessed value, not appraised value. And you can see the cities. Your largest increases were in the rural and southern part of the county. Not as much as in Leavenworth, Lansing, and that's just where the sales are. We put a new year of sales in every year. We're using 2 years of sales, but so this year we used 2016 and 2017 sales for our valuation, and then you kick out the other year. And when the sales go up, they indicate increases in value. So that's kind of the way we do that. On the next page, and if you look back, you say, well, commercial didn't go up, but if you look on my sales ratio on page 3 of my report, I'd included commercial property on there. Our median ratio was 100.3%, so we were at about 100%. So,
could we drop that back down to 100? I hate paying the extra 3%.
Okay.
No, that's a joke.
Yeah. All right. And that was based on only 15 sales. So that number can swing quite a bit based on just a few sales. The next page I included, this is just what happened to the parcels for residential and commercial. It doesn't add up to the total because we don't have ag in there. I just do residential class and commercial class. It doesn't include farm class where you have a house and some ag land, we weren't able to technically break apart some of that farm valuation. So we just did strictly R parcels. So there's 20,785 of those. And that includes new construction and everything. So some of them that, went up greater than 50%, 15%. Some of them, a lot of percent of it was a vacant lot last year. Now it's got a house. And the same on commercial. And that's just the number breakdown, the percentages for those percent of increases are, in fact, the decrease is 0.9%, 90% to, less than 90%, 90% to 100%, and the same, and then 0 to 2% on up. And those, just the numbers, we have 962 commercial parcels. So we don't have a large number of commercial parcels. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got one. I think it's important that everybody realizes that this is not Mr. Weber's formula. This comes from the state.
Right.
Well, there's nothing we can do about it. And I was wondering, do you know the total number of parcels that are in the rural areas? Just not exact, just.
We've got around 7,400 that have homes on it in rural areas. I don't know, I can run that number and get it to you.
No, that's
I don't
fine.
have the
That's
total
all.
number of rural parcels off the top of my head.
And
I've run
are you seeing still a lot of homes sell for more than the listed price, like bidding wars on these homes?
There are a few, because we look up the listing prices on the internet. I mean, we look up all the sales on the internet
then what they actually sell
but,
for.
I don't know that there's a ton, but there are some that do happen.
So
But I don't.
Still is
I don't
a little
keep
bit of
the
a there is
number
still a
on
little bit
those.
of a housing shortage in
I
in the
believe so.
county.
And I just heard radio reports nationally. There's still the national numbers are still a housing shortage. And I've had realtors tell me there were housing shortages last year.
Right.
They say at the end of the year they got a little bit better, but it's kind of hard to gauge right at this time of the year because
Right.
this is the slowest time of the year. The winter, January, December, January, February, those are your slowest months of the year.
I'm just lucky I live in the southern part of the county where home values are increasing.
Well, it was interesting, the Kansas City paper had an article, and I think it was one of the Johnson County cities, and normally they have 1,500 to 1,600 houses on the market, and they only have 600, and then it gave the average price it was costing and what they were paying for the houses since it was a shortage. It was an interesting article that might have impressed somebody. I get tired of reading articles. Bob, did you have?
I was going to ask a question on, you listed like crop ground as being so much percent up and hay ground being what, 4%?
Right. That's an average.
Right,
yes.
that's an average. But did they list what they would call non-essential ground like timber? Of what it would be as an estimate?
That hasn't changed if we've classified it as waste ground. That has never changed since
has never changed.
1989.
Okay. I wondered if
that,
it had
you know,
changed
if
or
we
not.
classified it as that. If it's classified as grass, then it will follow the grass.
Right.
If Leavenworth County has always had a lot of that classified as waste.
Right.
I don't know that the state is real thrilled with that, but
Interesting to bring that up, because I don't know if I can find about 160 acres. And it was $100 an acre. Quite a bit of it was forest and woods. And I don't know if I can find any. And if you could find any for me, I'll be glad to buy all that land that I can at $100 an acre. So it has gone up, but we leave it I don't know how the formula allows you to leave it where it is,
Well,
or if that.
Well, I think part of it is because you have no, you can turn cattle out there, but what are they gonna eat?
I'm
the,
gonna turn hogs to the.
Oh, you're gonna turn hogs, oh, okay.
that's if it is classified as agricultural. Now, if there's no agricultural use on the
Right.
property,
Right.
The individual's not a farmer or whatever, and it's all timber, it will be at market value, and whatever land is selling for. And it doesn't sell for that much difference than what other land, because people will like to buy it, build
Yeah.
homes on it, have their acreage with trees on it, that sort of thing.
I think in 100, or originally it was 80 acres, I think it was only 20 acres that was
20.
tillable.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't tillable. It had a nice crop of rocks. I saw the thorns out there one day and 10 kids. And I see, people don't understand that, but that's all right. There's Francis X. Thorne.
Picking up rocks?
And the whole kids, they're all picking up rocks. Little bitty kids, big kids. It was just amazing to see them out there picking up that row crop of rocks before they planted. And the next year, there was another crop of rocks, you know. It was beautiful. How have the number of protests? You ever keep that statistic?
Yeah, it
Or
was,
just
it's
people
usually runs like, I haven't run it for the whole year, I've run it for like at informals, it's been 1% or less for a few years. Back in the 90s it was more, and it's kind of gradually decreased. And of course it really bottomed out when, during the recession, we weren't raising any values, and so then we had very few. We expected more last year because values did go up more last year than they had previously, but we really didn't get that many. So we are anticipating more this year, but it's, and I'll run the numbers, but it's been 1% or less.
You know what, it is amazing about that, because I remember how I used to protest. I only had one protest that went all the way. I think people are just getting used to it, really. Why protest? They may come in and have a hearing, but they're tired of protests, and that's what usually happens with laws and statutes and ordinances. People just say, I'll live with it. So, but it'd be nice to see a statistic of how many, and it'd be, I'm sure, an easy thing for you to punch the button. Formal and, or informal and formal and.
I'll usually provide that number to commissioners in my next quarterly report after we've had our hearings,
Okay.
so I can do
Appreciate
that. So.
Any other questions?
I have another theory. I think it's just because people's taxes are escrowed into their house payment, and
That's what I was
I mean,
thinking.
when you
same
get
thing.
if you get the tax bill and you're going to come in and write a check, yeah, you're going to be more apt to protest. I think
yeah.
as long as hey, the bank sends you some, your payment went up so much. They don't.
Well, there's people that
don't
have
want
their
it.
house paid off, and then they get a tax bill in the mail, and they say, well, here's my tax from last year, and here it is this year. Man, it really went up. I'm going to protest.
Right.
But if it's in escrow,
Goes up a few bucks a month.
yeah, they don't
They don't
think
care.
nothing of it.
Well, Bob, we're looking forward to you lowering all of our taxes. We appreciate that.
Oh, no.
Have a good one. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Bob. Mr. Chairman, you looking for a motion to adjourn
Adjourn.
session one?
Yes, we do need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn session one.
Second.
How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, aye. And then we will convene session 2 and listen to our Public Works officer.
Is this a work session?
Work session.
This is.
Well, no, he's got a quarterly
Oh,
report.
quarterly report.
First. Morning, Commissioners.
Morning, David.
Sarah's out of town today, so you're stuck with me.
Oh, right.
Start off with the sales tax projects, 147th Street. Contractor has been clearing trees and installing erosion control. He is planning on starting construction on March 1st, which is a week from today. So we will be notifying property owners,
all emergency services, school bus, all those types of things will be notified. If not this week, the first of next week. McIntyre Road, the first box east of K7 has been completed and that area is reopened. Contractor has moved east of 131st and is starting a second box down in that area. Water District has acquired approximately 12% of their easements that they need as of February 6th and was unable to provide a start date for their construction. So once the weather straightens out on that, we expect the contractor to start going full bore on that project also.
Well, do you foresee that the delay on that water line will cause a delay on our construction?
It's possible, yes.
And that is Consolidated Rural Water District number 1?
Yes. Eisenhower Road project, construction drawings are nearly complete in our office for the final office check. Proceeding with the few remaining parcels of acquisition. We have a couple that will be going to the county councilor here in the next week or so to begin condemnation.
How many condemnations do we have on that?
I believe there's 2 property owners, 2 or 3, I believe it's 2, but 2 that we're going to have to condemn out of 20 plus, so.
That's not bad.
No, good progress. The PRP program, we've received six new petitions were submitted in 2017. 3 of those are complete 100% in the requirements of the program. The remaining 3 were short on signatures, and staff has been working with those petitioners on what is still needed to be accepted into the program.
Now, when you say it's working, then they don't have the signatures. It's not time consuming, is it? I mean, you don't have the signatures.
Well, we work with them on letting them know. A lot of times they don't know who, they may knock on the door and the person who lives there signs it, but that person isn't who owns it. So we're working with them on getting on, well, here's who you need to contact.
In other words, we don't go out and do the work.
No,
here.
no, we're
Okay,
assisting the
that's
petitioners.
my concern.
Yeah, but no, we're not actually
They're not
getting the
actually doing
petitions.
the, you're not actually doing the work.
No.
You're just telling them
We're
what
helping
they need to do.
Yeah, we're helping the property owners out.
Okay.
2
On 100
PRP.
excuse me, on 174th and State to Evans, isn't that suburban water district?
That one is, yes.
Okay.
Number 2 and number 3 are either partially or completely in consolidated. Number 1 is not.
Okay.
2 PRP projects are currently in design, the 178th and 150th Street. 178th, we've redlined once and sent back to the consultant. 150th, we should be receiving in the first set of drawings either this week or next. 2 PRP projects we are attempting to acquire easements on, the Coffin Road and the Stranger Road. So 4 projects on the PRP list we are trying to move forward in the process.
How many of these are Water District 1?
That are currently being worked on, none of them.
You're
That are-
talking about working on PRP programs. Are these going to be the RIF and TIF money? Is that what you're going to fund it with, or are we, because we don't have any RIF and TIF funds?
PRP projects we have right now in our local service budget, we have I think around $180,000 in our this year's budget. RIF and TIF money is going towards the higher volume roads right now. Bridge replacement projects, HP 19, we held the field check at the end of January. Geotechnical services are being completed to incorporate into the next round of construction drawings. HP 10 and 17, planning on bidding those for construction this year. SH 30 is in design, and then the remaining 4 just got approved to start design on. Road projects that are currently in process, the 182nd Metro project, that's the KTA Bridge project.
Let's stop on the bridges there.
Uh-huh.
I have a question. You know, we're talking about doing, I guess it's HP 19 with $800,000. Or I'm wondering where we're getting the money to do 182.
182, the 2440 Evans, I assume you're talking about?
The one where the 182 gentleman's not here today.
Yeah, that would be,
State,
that would be
I know
item
John-
B under, that would be item B under number 6.
Item B coming up.
Yes,
So we do have money to do that,
yes.
okay?
Can you, I asked the question a little bit ago about the PRP program, but there was never any funded for the PRP program. Where did the funding come from?
It was approved in our 2018 local service budget. There's around $180,000. Full improvements specifically for PRP projects.
Okay. I was gonna say, because I remember, because I voted for,
I think that was 2017's budget when nothing,
and the other
Was
two
budgeted.
commissioners voted me down.
yeah, I believe that was
No, it'd been
2017.
17.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2018, we were able to
Never
get a little bit.
I
Well,
was,
that's what it should have been. You should have been going. There wasn't enough humor going
yeah,
around.
wasn't enough humor, yeah.
Um,
They voted me down.
Yeah.
So each year, we will request funding for PRP, and it may
think
not be
we
enough to
should.
do a project,
I think there
but it'll
should
go
be
into capital
money for
improvements. But,
PRP
yeah,
program.
we will be requesting in 2019 also.
There's a gentleman back there, but you know, let's see how long he can hold his arm up. That's. You had a question on one of the bridges. If you'll come forward, or on something else. It should have been under comments, but that's all right. The subject's coming up.
My apologies for the interrupting with the question. So, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Chad Shimke. I'm actually maybe one section late here, as I'm a part of one of the approved, or excuse me, completed PRP programs, and basically wanted to represent my neighborhood of about 35 homes, understanding that we ran against a little bit of, well, we ran against an obstacle, it sounds like, with Consolidated Rural Water District 1. It sounds like they've come up a few times today. The reason I guess the reason I was nominated for our neighborhood was for a couple of reasons. One, I grew up there, and have more recently moved back. I built a house there about 10 years ago. And now I'm raising a family, so I've got, you know, these gravel roads that I grew up on and ultimately came back to. And for me, it's more of a safety, I think, concern than anything else. Everybody that has lived out here has probably driven on a gravel road and understands everything you do on a gravel road creates some element of risk, whether that's acceleration, stopping, turning, you name it. So we're about a mile or so of road, and I've been working with Dave's office to make sure that we got the necessary signatures, that we granted the easements to the county, that we were following all the rules, and then to kind of find out, one, I realized funding's always a question, and then two, utilities came into play. My proposal, or what I'd hope to at least ask the commissioners for feedback on today, was more around and please, if I get the vernacular wrong, my apologies, but more of a pave-in-place type solution that doesn't require such heavy engineering, doesn't require all the same type of costs. We don't have the through traffic that a road like McIntyre would have. Obviously, it's just more of a neighborhood with 35 homes. But it fairly dense even for a rural community with that many homes, I think, on that stretch of ground. So I wanted to see what the process or recommendations might be for the commissioners to maybe look at a pave-in-place type program rather than a, I guess, engineered road type program that would run into, again, more of those utility type challenges, obstacles, expenses as a taxpayer, right? So I understand that immensely. I have no idea what our collective taxes are in that neighborhood of 35, but I'd say it's well north of 6 figures, you know, a year. And it's been that way for decades and decades and decades, and now we've had, you know, a number of new homes and emerging families coming in, and again, now being a dad of 2 boys, it's more of a deal to me today than it was 10 years ago.
Have you been watching TV lately? Gravel roads are much safer than hard surface roads.
Oh, really? Yeah. I haven't seen that study, Lou, if it exists.
Yep. You know, I was driving down 7, and there's that little sports car just sitting there, been sitting there for 3 days. And I've gone down some county roads, and I haven't seen anybody in the ditch. Because people on gravel roads know they gotta slow down, they gotta, you know, they're not coming into a pileup at 60 miles an hour and recreating. But, not that you don't have a situation there, but gravel roads must say, people know.
We've got some elevations, and I think at the same time, everybody does observe and wants to go slow. As someone who, you know, blames the fact that I couldn't play for KU or K-State because I was no good at basketball because I grew up on gravel, it's a real, you know, challenge to dribble.
Yeah.
Even worse to ride your bike. But just in general, you know, low posted speed limits would obviously be supported by this neighborhood. I mean, again, for lack of a better term, I mean, our communities come together to figure out what we can do to improve our conditions.
You have to put the sheriff on that, because we have no inputs on that, really. We could ask him, but he does his own thing. But is this something that he should get together with you or with Dave, or are we getting something here that at least it could be looked into?
Well, I think we have.
We did that on purpose.
Can't hear myself. There we go. I think there are a couple of challenges here. One, he's mentioned that he's in Consolidated Rural Water District, so I would encourage you to go to the Consolidated Rural Water District Board meeting first Tuesdays of every month.
Yes, sir.
And express your
That's on the
concern
list.
about
Absolutely.
their current policies that have put all of our projects in that territory on hold. And there is a road that impacts me too that's in that territory, so I feel your pain on that. But the Pave in Place program, I've actually talked to Public Works about that. We're researching it. There are some limitations just because of, and I won't do a good job of explaining this as Sarah did, or maybe David could, but some expectations of road performance. When you pave a road, people think it's a better road, so they tend to increase their speeds, which then makes it less safe. So we have to be sure that we're not engineering a problem into it. And I'm, you know, again, not being an engineer or understanding some of these things, I was all for the paved in place approach on a lot of these projects, but our county councilor has also reviewed it and expressed some concerns about a liability that it creates for the county. I think we offer a dust patch program, and that might be something that your development could take advantage of. I don't know, you'd have to talk to Public Works, but.
How many houses did you say?
About 35
And it's about a mile road?
in total.
Are we able to do county benefit districts?
Can we do benefit districts? Yeah, there are certain requirements we have to meet, but yes.
Yep. Okay, just curious. A thought process, because Water District 1 is creating a situation. And I don't know what a benefit district, I don't know what the parameters of that would be. I haven't looked into it. I know I volunteered to do 3/4 of a mile of road myself. And the county commission didn't like that, so.
I liked it.
I mean, I think obviously we want to work with all of our citizens, be happy to sit down and talk to you about it. I'm sure, I don't know if you met with Public Works to go through some of these ideas with them, but that's what we need to do as far as signage and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately how we got to this place, was working hand in hand with Public Works and trying to understand what all the options were. And, you know, again, running into the utility challenge created probably more brainstorming. The fact is, I probably wouldn't have known about some of the challenges with Rural Water District 1 had it not been for my project. I can assure you, regardless of my project, that's something I'm going to be very involved in going forward. You know, at the same time, you know, as a taxpayer, I'm also trying to find out ways that we can be responsible with how the money is spent. And if, again, we're a lower traffic road, it's not a through road, so it's, you know, again, it's a neighborhood. It seemed to make a lot of sense, at least in brainstorming, because of what we are, that a paving place could work. Obviously, that lessens the expenses significantly, so. Thank you.
David, is this on the PRP program already?
Actually, it'll be on one of our board actions will request adding it to.
Okay, so it meets everything else. It's just that it so happens that it's.
Yeah, their permit was, or their petition was 100% complete.
Okay.
And we did lower the design standard for PRP roads because of the low volume, so trying to minimize how much grading work would be
The
needed.
PRP roads still will have to have 100%.
Yes, yeah.
And take forward from me a hug to you know.
Will do, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yep. So, and thank you, appreciate it. Okay.
All right. So we are on number 6, road improvement projects, 182nd and Metro. That's the KTA bridge project. That is nearing completion. They have been installing fence and signage, and we'll seed that when the time is appropriate. 182nd Street, 2440 to Evans Road. Utility companies have been notified that the right-of-way acquisition is completed. Wayne has staked the right-of-way for the utility companies. I anticipate construction starting probably around mid-September of this year. And that will be funded. We should have some RIF funds available after 179th Street, and then we'll probably have to use a little bit of sales tax money to complete that project. 179th Street is advertised for bid. Bids are due on March 22nd. Utility relocation is almost complete on that project. Hollingsworth Road, 147th to 155th, that's on hold due to the water district issue. Stillwell Road, 158th to 170th. Construction drawings have been redlined and returned to the consultant. Those should be back hopefully within the next several weeks. 178th, same thing, plans have been reviewed and returned. Actually, I talked to that consultant yesterday. He expects those back next week. 150th, I should be receiving plans for that project this week or next for the first review and red line on those. And 251st, those drawings have been reviewed and redlined and returned to the consultant also. So our office has been very busy with PRP reviews and review of road plans for projects that are in the works. So staff has been busy with that. And then we have eight additional projects that will be coming to the board for approval to award at your next meeting on Tuesday night.
Coffin Road you mentioned, is that a PRP program?
Yes, that's a PRP project.
Because it's a very narrow road, so it'll have to be widened to some extent?
Possibly in spots, yes.
Yeah.
Depending on how narrow it is, yeah, it may need to be.
Same way with the brush. I mean, there's quite a bit of brush on that road too.
Yeah, usually anything within the right-of-way will get cleared out. Any brush like that. And we've had several requests to reopen existing right-of-ways. 174 south of Cantrell was completed recently. Once the weather straightens up, the crew will move up to 195th Street north of Santa Fe Trail. And then we have another request for an extension on 219th north of Millwood.
Which water district are these going to be in?
Not consolidated. I can't tell you specifically, but that's all I can.
Well, we need to make sure that, see, I have a thought process that
Okay.
when somebody's applying for utilities, I don't know if I really like them in our right-of-way.
Well,
Water districts usually aren't.
I was going to ask that
They're
question.
usually in private easement, only
I
the
know that.
service lines going under the road.
But when we widen the requirements,
Then we take them in, but
Then we
they're,
take 'em in.
originally, they're in private easement.
and that's what it was when 12 or 8, which one was it? 12. wasn't it?
12,
Just
that's
12.
one I'm on.
Yeah, they went through the middle of the farm. But I think we need to take actions that keep us out of Water District 8, making sure that the right-of-way is what we need, so we don't get into where we now have to, because it's 2050, and Water District 1 is now the metropolis of the water districts in the state of Kansas. And we don't have to start moving utilities. It's just a point because,
Are we mandated to let them, if they can't get private easement, are we mandated to let them use our easement?
We have a utility accommodation policy that allows utilities to go within our county right-of-way.
but not mandated.
Well, but if they're in our right of way, we don't have to pay for them to be
No,
moved.
I'm saying, just like one, they're in private easement right now. And then when we decide to do 147th, then now all of a sudden they're going to be in our easement.
Which is why they want to move their water lines back out of our easement.
Okay, but, so we have to pay for
We have to, when they're in a private easement, we have to pay to move.
So,
If they're in our right-of-way, depending upon when they went in and if there was any agreement in place, and we come back and require them to move it, it's typically at their expense. Sometimes, however, like along 147th Street, there's an agreement in place that says if you have to locate in our right-of-way and we require movement in the future, we'll pay for the move. We have a policy in place now countywide that says they have to be a certain distance back out of the center line. But a lot of these water lines were in place well in advance of that agreement. And I don't know that number off the top of my head, David, how far off the center line they have to be now if they put a new line in. But it's significantly back past where our right-of-way is. So it's past the 60 feet that we currently require and, from the center line. And so that's, I think going forward, new lines shouldn't be a problem until we have so much growth we have to put in like a 4-lane road or something. But that doesn't take care of the ones that are already there. Those are the ones that we're running into right now.
That's what I'm looking at on these reopening existing
Yeah.
right away. Let's make sure we got the 90 foot or the 100 or the 120 that we're going to need in the future.
Yeah,
Because-
typically, these are serving one or two houses, so.
Yeah, but, you know, 1 or 2 houses, that's fine. Pretty soon, somebody's out there putting in a subdivision, and now we got a situation where the water line was a 2-inch or 4-inch, and it didn't handle it, it's got to be moved. So just planning on the future, no big deal.
All right. Mark is currently, Mid-America Regional Council as their call for projects for 2021 to 2022 currently out. Those applications are due March 23rd. Public Works is working on submitting 3 projects for consideration for funding. We will resubmit the Eisenhower Road project again. We will submit the HP 19 bridge replacement project, and we are working on a Baser City Trail project.
Just to be clear, the Baser City Trail project, they request, the school district, requested that we look at that. And the reason the county would be participating is it does run along one of the roads that we're required to maintain, so.
I just wonder if we, and I don't have any great feelings, not participating with the school district, but the school district is the school district, and if we put in the Baser City Trails, is that going to, and I do believe it would, lower the Eisenhower and the project and the 19 project, because somebody on that mark board is going to say, well, we can't give them Eisenhower, we can't give them the bridge, so let's give them the trail.
All projects are scored separately, and they have multiple people. That it's not just one person scoring the project, it's multiple people. So they score the project, and then you'll get listed based on your score. So.
And there are also 2 funding sources as the part of
right,
this.
they're separate funding sources.
Right, and I will say that projects that have multiple taxing entities involved do score a little better. So the city, the school district, I believe the library is participating in that, and then the county, and just submitting it. But yeah, they score them separately, and we could get all 3 or we could get 0, none of them. So, but if they fund them, they fund them. They don't select them and say, well, we're only going to give you, Leavenworth County, we're only going to give you $5 million, and you have to divvy it up. They'll fund it by project.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, would this require any design change on Eisenhower to be eligible for any MARC funding?
There'll be, I wouldn't call it a design change. There'll have to be some adjustments made so the plans match what KDOT wants. And there'll be a process we have to go through with KDOT. So
It could be just a little bit of an increase in price.
yeah, there'll
of the
be some
project.
change, but it won't be significant.
What's the percentage that they typically would give on a project like that? Is that like 80-20?
No, typically
50?
anymore, if you see 60%, you're doing
Yeah,
doing
so
one.
it's probably like a 50/50 just to be
Yeah.
conservative, which is still pretty
That's
significant.
very good for a project of that size. Do you have a ballpark, do you think Eisenhower would cost?
We recently received a revised construction estimate that was around, I think it was a little under 9 million.
9 million?
Revised estimate.
Okay. Thank you.
So for personnel for Public Works, we have hired 2 new mechanics at the county shop. Those were replacements for employees who had retired. We've hired 1 new heavy equipment operator at the transfer station and 1 heavy equipment operator for the noxious weed department. We will soon be posting job openings for our summer positions for flaggers, mowers, and a summer intern. Solid waste, 2017 totals, the solid waste, the transfer station processed over 36,000 tons of waste in 2017 and saw on average of approximately 107 customers per day come through the gate. Buildings and grounds, the jail visitation remodel is nearing completion, should be complete by the end of this month. EMS station number 2 remodel, they're awaiting asphalt pricing. Hope to start construction in early April. And the demo on the house across the street is out to bid right now.
The only thing I feel bad on your report was I won't be around when you start digging up all this buried resource. It's gonna have to all be, and what they're gonna turn it into. It's gonna be interesting. All the trash has been dumped. I went to a meeting with the city. I thought it was interesting. One of the commissioners gave a 20-minute nice talk on vision. And it sort of got to where, in a sense, I think the people lost where he was going with vision, you know, what's going to happen 10, 15 years. Got down to, well, we're taking care of that problem. We're doing that road. We're doing that sidewalk. That may have something to do with vision, but I don't think it's the total, like we're trying to come up with a plan for the whole county. That's a vision. What do you want for the whole county as a vision? Arterial roads, that's fine. Sewers, where are you gonna run the sewers? You're gonna run it from the hill down to Stranger Creek, major sewer down to Stranger Creek. Putting in dry ponds on Stranger, starting at our headwaters, don't get in with Jefferson County and the rest of the counties. How do we handle our flooding? And put in dry ponds, that would handle probably any flooding on Stranger Creek. You did that. People might not want it, so you go down to the next farm, put in a dry pond. Running 20th Street South, which is, I don't know, what do you want to call the road, 20th Street South?
Who, Lawrence?
Good Lawrence, yeah. I don't know why it runs into Lawrence, but we could change it. But picking up right away to put in a bypass. Needs to be bypassed. DeSoto and 4th Street can't have it. So you put in a bypass, you would have probably that 8,000 cars that are headed east from 20th and Eisenhower. You'd probably have majority of them going south down to 4H, or what road you're going to pick up, County Road 8. But that's the things that we need to be working on for our vision. And I think, under Mark's direction and our department heads, I think it's been going in a very positive direction. I really enjoy the changes that I'm seeing to make sure that we have a vision, and maybe we ought to, do we have a vision? Is there something in the records that says the vision of Leavenworth County is do this or to do that. I would like to know. If not, let's see if we can come up with a written vision that we can go by, rather than we want to do 182nd Street because it's been on the books, or we want to do 207th Street because it was 15 years, you know. That would fall out of the guidelines of a 15-year vision, I think. So I think for roads and everything else, mainly has to do with public works, I think. You know, nice place to live. Commercial, there won't be too much commercial other than grocery stores and that. I don't think you're going to see more Tysons. That one's dead, and anything that would be in that ballpark would be dead. But we need to have a vision, I think, for Leavenworth County, and I had written that down after I'd gone to that meeting at the city, because I thought it was interesting, the gentleman that was presenting. He's probably done that many times in the military. Somewhere in the military, you got to have a vision, or you don't go anywhere. So I think it'd be nice if we have, there may be a written vision somewhere.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, that falls into this whole strategic plan for the county, and I think it's going to involve more than public works and emergency management, everybody,
Yep.
but and planning and zoning especially.
Yep.
Because I think a sewer in Leavenworth County is going to determine how we grow.
Right. And how the cities handle the 2-mile restriction, you know, and I know that there are a lot of people in that 2-mile restriction that don't want all the codes and zoning that goes on in a city, you know.
But I feel pretty strongly that we need that sooner than later.
I think those are good points, and definitely we're planning on trying to get that in the budget for 19 as the master plan, and maybe sooner, depending upon funding sources that are available to us. Right now, what we're working on is trying to get an estimate on what a project like that would cost. So we're working on that. And I think the comment about the 2-mile radius, that's exactly right. We need to have some idea on how the county's going to grow and how the cities are going to grow, and all that comes from a strategic plan.
Well, the city they had brought up 2 roads. One of them is just to the south of Spruce, Thornton. Thornton. No, it doesn't matter. Thornton, yeah, Thornton and Muncie. Went in Muncie from 10th over to Lawrence. You know, that's a good road, but you know, I thought it was surprising they didn't pick up Shawnee up the hill, and I know the people that own it. Well, they have over a section, probably close to 2 sections of land up there that are all in the school district. And that's within the 2-mile limitation. Definitely Muncie, you know, Thornton, there's not much of a payback. Not that it shouldn't be done, but there's not much of a payback. Muncie, from 10th to New Lawrence Road, there is a payback. Yes, definite payback. They say 1,500 houses. But they also have a high-pressure gas line that most people don't understand. They think that all the gas passes around the community at 12, 13 pounds, but that's high-pressure gas. So how do they get by that? But so the city looks like, you know, they may be going forward with a vision. I think that's good, and we have basically a vision established here, and we need to get written down so we can future elected commissioners won't be saying, well, let's see what we can do here. When you've got a vision and you're trying to make it go forward, then you can always modify a vision. But I think we're doing very good. So I don't have any other questions of Public Works.
And we have 2 items that need board
That's good.
approval. First item is approve the following roadway sections to be included in the PRP project list and to begin easement acquisition. 174th Street from State Avenue to Evans, McPherson Road, 119th and Kelly Road, those are all off of Highway 5, and Donahue Road from 155th to 175th Street. Those 3 projects all have submitted complete 100% petitions and meet all the requirements to be added to the PRP list.
Well, the first one I had down here is blade maintenance.
That's actually on the agenda. You reversed your order.
Oh, I got them out of order. All right.
You said 8, blade maintenance of driveways.
Yeah, approval of revised policy on local service roads. The current policy allows property owners to request that their driveways be bladed by the Public Works Department. Public Works does not believe that the county equipment or personnel should be working outside of the right-of-way. So we would like to revise that policy and take number 8, the blading of private driveways, out of the policy.
So what are we needing to do that or not to do that? We need a motion not to
Just
do
need
it?
just need a
Deny it?
motion to approve the amended policy, which removes section 8 from the current policy.
I don't like that term, section 8.
Policy number 8.
Thank you. Robert, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I'm not in favor of it. I think we have quite a few elderly people that live out in the county that maybe depend on this once a year or once. I think I've used it once in 40 years. In fact, I know I have. I've used it once in 40 years, and I didn't even use it in an hour. It was probably a half hour. The grader man did a very good job. I wouldn't be opposed to paying for it, but I realize that the elderly people maybe can't afford to pay for it, and nor can they go out there and get on a tractor with a blade and do it themselves. They shouldn't be doing it. And so I'm totally opposed to this. I think that we can figure out some other way to do this rather than just to do away with it. I think we need to look at this a little closer and
Is there a state statute that says we're not supposed to work off the right of way with county equipment?
You are not to compete with private enterprises for things such as paving parking lots, things of that nature. In the past, what the county has done is, Commissioner Holland alluded to it, if people were to sign up or request it, if it was available up to 1 hour of blading of a private driveway, 2 goals in mind. One was to assist the citizens of the county in keeping their driveways open. Second, to keep rock off of the county roads. And quite frankly, if people attempted to do it on their own, or if a private entity did it on their own and perhaps did not know what they were doing, they might push more rock onto the county road than take off.
Well, but I mean, we've always caught the ends of driveways on the situation you're talking about, where the driveway gets, yeah, just the end, that's still in the right of way. Like Mr. Weber said, there's 7,400 parcels with a house on it in the rural areas. So what happens if everybody wants their driveway bladed?
how many people have asked?
Dave would have to have them numbers.
I'm not even sure how many people are aware that we have this policy that
Right.
allows for
There will be now.
My exact point.
I think from a staff's perspective, there's several concerns. One, a liability concern. We're working on somebody else's property with our staff and our equipment. There's a liability concern.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I used to come home and, of course, my driveway was, not my driveway, it was 100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But coming from Gilwood Road up to the house, that was about a half mile. Only one guy could make it during the muddy season from there all the way through up into the Atchison County. Everybody put chains on it. But I really used to enjoy doing my driveway, grading the road out to Gilwood, coming back, putting the sycamore mower on that little cub, going down there. And it was something that was enjoyable because I knew with $12,000 we weren't going to do very good maintenance, grader and all this and that. But we do oil and seal a road at request if it's in, but that's on
In
the
the
road
right of way.
itself. That is not going up the driveway. I'm sure there's some other way that people could handle this, but I'm not in favor of county doing private driveways. I understand the more mature, but I looked at the more mature up in Easton. We had a lot of more mature people. In fact, sometimes I even did their driveways. But, you know, it's hard for a guy who's a full-time farmer to go around doing people's driveways. I wasn't a full-time farmer.
Well, Public Works never did do snow removal in driveways. The only one we did do was when there was an EMS call,
Yeah.
and our snowplow went in there and bladed the driveway, and they turned around and filed a suit that we had to re-rock their whole driveway. I'm sure Mr. Van Perry's remembers that situation. Saved the person lived, a cardiac patient, I think it was. And we got there within a few minutes of the ambulance, couldn't get in the driveway. Our snowplow driver went in there, plowed the driveway, and they called the next day wanting their driveway re-rocked, and we had to re-rock that driveway.
I'll get you there right by the county.
Commissioner Smith, you're incorrect.
Hmm?
It was a concrete driveway that we had scraped, and they wanted us to replace the concrete driveway.
I got one that they wanted us to re-rock it.
Well, it was partially rock and then turned into concrete.
Okay.
In any event, it was,
$8,000 worth, I believe.
the county did not pay that, but it was an example of what happens when you,
So my personal opinion would be to remove this late maintenance of driveways, but to continue to have some kind of conversation within the department and see if they're, you know, for somebody to do it as a private business, I would think there might be something there, but go ahead, David.
Commissioner, you currently maintain a list of people who are eligible and licensed to inspect sewer systems. You could provide a list to interested parties, private parties who could provide grading services for their driveways.
Glenn, you had a comment you wanted to make?
My only concern about that
Can
is,
you come forward? Thank you.
Glenberry District 1. My only concern about that is how, what's the total number of people that actually put in? I know I've had them do it a couple times at my house since we lived there, because my driveway is about a 45-degree incline, and it washes out from the man's field behind my house, collects a lot of water, runs down my driveway. But my concern is you do away with this. Now I'm able to do it. Now I bought a tractor that I can take care of it. But like Bob's talking about, you're talking about older people, and that on a fixed income, maybe that you can find a private contractor to do that for them. But if they can't afford to pay them, then they're not going to get it done. I don't think, when the guys came out, and they've done mine a couple of times since I lived there for 20 years, but they've come out and took them, 30 or 40 minutes to come out there and run a blade up and out. And they always did a good job for me in that. But my concern is, like down at the bottom of my driveway, the drainage, the culvert that runs under my driveway, the county told them how big it was supposed to be when they put it in. They put it in. The water coming from uphill from me in a heavy rain won't stay in that culvert. So what's it do? It backs up till it runs over the driveway, and it washes that hole into my driveway out. It ends up down in the road, or down in my neighbor's ditch, and then he's complaining about my rock, and I told him I'm gonna send you a bill for all my rock that's in your yard. But he didn't think that was funny. I did. But then I gotta put that back. And I can put the rock back. Can I get it back to where you guys would like it? Probably not, because the first time the road grader comes up through there plowing snow, he's digging a edge of my driveway because I'm out too far in the road trying to make it smooth, because the asphalt doesn't run up to my driveway anymore. It's washed out and gone. Now, if I want to tell you that the county hadn't maintained that road up into my driveway like I think they should, well, that'd be a whole different ballgame. Then, what, we're going to asphalt over that so it doesn't do that? I don't know. I think it's easier for the county to come out there every now and then. They run their heavy equipment over it and they pack it down way harder than what I can do with a tractor with a blade on the back. I just, I don't know. I think it's a public service that taxpayers are just, I'll bet you there ain't a handful of people even know you guys do this. They do now.
They do now, but
Yeah.
but if water jumps over your driveway culvert, it would be the county's responsibility to rock that back.
Well, but I don't have to call them because I
If it's in
just
the
got
right
done
of way.
hauling rock in there and putting it back myself.
We're not responsible for the maintenance of
See, now you're
driveways.
saying they're not.
Well, but if the culvert was plugged up, it's the county's responsibility
It's
to have
not
it.
plugged up. It doesn't
He
plug
said
up.
something.
It just, there's too much volume of water to go through the culvert.
I have the same problem.
Because up the road from me,
The county maintains that culvert, so if it failed to function, it should be
Well,
the
he said in
county's
heavy
responsibility to
rain,
dump a little rock back in there to get your driveway. But I don't think it's the county's responsibility to blade driveways that are 1/4 mile long.
well, mine's not. But,
Well, there are some out there.
no, I know.
And I believe in personal responsibility, and I'll stand by it.
Is it adequate to put in a different size culvert?
Well, entrance culverts are designed for a small storm, so in large rainfalls, they will overtop, yes.
So,
Well, that's all I got.
so I think there's some things that we can continue to look into, and one is, say, you put out find out who would do that. I'm sure some of these guys in the snow removal business,
Landscaping.
you know, might want to get out and, do gravel roads, I don't know, that might be a good avenue, but I guess it boils down to the question is, do we want to remove Article number 8 out of this purpose of blade maintenance of driveways?
I'll make that motion to remove Article number 8 out of the local service policy.
Okay. Want to second that?
No, I don't.
I will second that. How do you vote, Bob?
How do you think?
Okay?
Guess what, it's 2-1 vote again
No, it was done with humor.
for him.
All right, the next item we need board consideration on is to approve adding the following segments of road to the PRP project list: 174th Street from State Avenue to Evans, McPherson Road, 119th Street, and Kelly Road, all east and north of Highway 5, and Donahue Road from 155th to 175th Street.
Are any of these dead-end roads?
Yes.
Yes. Which ones?
Kelly Road, McPherson dead ends, Kelly Road dead ends.
I kind of have a problem with dead-end roads when we have.
Through roads that need to be improved.
That's right, just like the road that you've been pushing for down south.
I'm pushing for all of them. Which one?
182nd
Oh,
or something.
okay.
Well, these are PRP roads. These aren't roads
I
that
know,
were,
but they're still roads, and they're still taking up money, and they're dead-end roads.
well, yes, but they connect. The PRP doesn't limit.
No, I asked you
That
if they're
restriction.
dead-end roads, and you said, yes, they're dead-end roads, so they can't connect somewhere if they're a dead-end road.
They connect on one end.
There's two ways out.
Oh, there's
If
two
you're
ways
familiar
out.
with that area, yes.
Well,
You
there's
can
two
go back out
stubs
to
that
K5.
that do dead end. They make, it makes, it's on your map that's attached to this, and he's talking about the roads that are in the, I guess, kind of the middle of the map on the right-hand side. And they do go into I guess, they,
McPherson connects to 119th, which heads south.
the two primary roads connect.
Back
But there
to
are
it.
two spurs off that do not, that are dead end.
Yeah,
And
the one
they-
up there in the Missouri bottom
Right.
area, that has
Yes.
some dead ends in it.
Yeah, the McPherson ends down by the railroad tracks. But the PRP doesn't, at the current time,
Yeah,
have a limitation on whether or not it's a dead end road or not.
But we would prioritize on traffic count?
Well, PRP, they get put on the list as they come in.
Okay.
the only thing I had written down is why add until we have the 100% and we have the Water District 1 thing squared away.
Well, these three all have 100%, the petition is 100% complete, meets all requirements. We would like to go ahead and get them added to the list so that step is completed, and then they'll sit there until we have a resolution to the Water District issue.
And if it's a different design standard, maybe they won't need to move the water line.
Well, the standards could be approved, that they wouldn't have to move the water line.
Currently, with the road projects that are in Consolidated Rural One, we're not doing anything with them other than, this is just, they've signed a request, we've received adequate 100% participation. So, but we're not going out and doing design work, we're not locating utilities, because we know there are water lines there that we will come across.
But are these roads all capable of grading and chip and seal, just like they are?
Well, that's the pave in place, and that's what Public Works was trying to evaluate what we would have to do. You know,
See, I don't mind doing that. You know, that was 207th Street to me.
just the dust, it's more of a dust patch than a PRP program.
So, what is the board's desire, even though Sarah didn't present it?
I'll make the motion to accept these roads that were listed, 174th from State to Evans, McPherson Road, Highway 5 to End Road, 119th, McPherson to Kelly, Kelly Road to McPherson to the end, and Donahue Road from 155th to 175th.
Where are all these roads located at?
Again, they're on the map that's attached to the RBA.
Second and third district.
They're all south.
One's in the second
Lansing.
district.
Well, one of them is
One's
just
east.
outside of Lansing. The first one, or excuse me, the second one on your list is just outside of Lansing. It's almost to the river. And then the other two are south, near the Baser area.
And none of them come in yet from the District 1?
The Coffin
Yeah,
Road.
Coffin Road, he's already got it.
Yeah, we're working on acquiring easements on the Coffin Road one.
Okay.
That's-
District
I think
1's
that's the only
50
one.
miles ahead of pavement than District 3.
No, actually, the Stranger Road one might be in District 1 also.
It is.
You did a motion?
I did.
You want to second that?
No,
Is that with you or no?
no.
Okay. Well, I'll second. So,
For discussion?
yeah, discussion.
I still don't agree with doing dead-end roads when we have other roads out here that aren't dead-end and can be utilized. I think they're, not that they're more important, but they actually are. I mean, when you have a through road or a road that connects to somewhere else, I think they are more important than a dead-end road. A dead-end road is just kind of like a road for just the
Glorified
people that-
driveway?
Yeah, that's all they are. They're just for the people that live on that road.
So maybe then the desire is a change to the current PRP policy, which says that they would have to be through roads that connect to another road
I would
versus
be in
just
favor
connecting
of
to a
that,
road.
yes.
Well, we can probably get into that in our work session.
Yeah, let's take that a little further, because you could do the one that's on the map in my district. You could do the one that's north and south, and then do the one going over to that Highway 5.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that, and then there would be no dead-end roads. You've added two little, what Bob is calling dead end, and they are dead ends.
The PRP program was established to give property owners who live on lower volume roads an opportunity to get their road improved.
Right.
So my concern is now we're saying, well, you live on a dead-end road, your road's not as important as somebody who doesn't live on a dead-end road that's low volume. If they meet all the requirements of the PRP, they get 100% of the people to say, yes, we'll donate the right-of-way. They get everybody to sign the petition. They agree to it. I'm not sure that we should limit somebody because they live on a dead-end road. It's still a county road.
That wouldn't complete everybody in that quarter section.
It'd just about knock you out of any gravel roads.
Yeah.
By the time you do McIntyre and do them, you'd be good.
But the case of off of Millwood Road, the gentleman who does cattle and hog out of Atchison, that road on his, what is that?
On Millwood. How far on Millwood?
Across the Potter Road, the first nice farm that sits there. But he sold off 2 80s. Sold off 180 to my son.
Oh, I know who you're talking about now.
Sold off another 80 back behind, and there's a road that goes down, and I've talked about this before, and it dead ends. Now, the right-of-way goes on, but they would have a heck of a time putting it in, and it dead ends to this gentleman who lives over here. So he has to maintain that whole portion because it's his driveway. And the ladies that bought the 80 and wanted to go all the way back, the land would all have to come off their side. Would they be willing to do it? I don't know, because it's at a point. And then it runs into a guy's barn and house when you get out on the next road. I don't know how that ever happened, but it did. So that's a clear-up point for probably Atchison County. But
you talking about the Schrick property?
Schrick, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Schrick, yeah.
All right.
So.
I think it was Larry.
Larry Schrick.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think there's 2 dead-end roads there, but we need to change the policy on PRPs.
The policy would be the area to address it. Maybe not to remove them completely, but to reprioritize them.
Yes.
So if they're on the list and there are other roads that connect.
I think it was kind of like, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, we ran out of projects to do because we were waiting on 207th Street, we were waiting on.
Oh, on fiber optic.
Fiber optic.
Right, level 3.
Level 3, yeah.
Right,
We
so
were
we
waiting on
found
that,
some.
so we ran out of projects, so Doug come to us and he said, we've got this road up north.
That was signed up.
That signed up, and he says we can go ahead with it. It was a dead, then we didn't have the road count. But the road count was only because the people that lived on that road was the road count.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can use the road count, but it's just the people that live on there,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe go out and visit. I still say that there's more, and I don't want to use the word more important, because everybody's important. But, there's.
Certainly higher priority on certain.
They're higher
roads.
priority.
We've identified that.
Well, approving these for the list doesn't mean they're going to get done unless we start funding these
Well,
things.
you never know what the next.
We
So,
can
I mean-
get these added to the list because they do meet the current requirements of the policy, and then bring the policy back before the board to maybe discuss some of these items.
We wouldn't want it known that we do prioritize roads. That wouldn't be good. Everybody's road is important.
That's
Right,
right.
and I agree,
Yeah.
everybody's road's important.
Right.
But they're just like 182nd down there.
Mhm.
Would you say that road's more important than one of these dead-end roads? Because the road count is going
Right,
to be the
is-
same
No, no, it's not gonna be the road, no, it will not be.
See,
182nd's over
that's my
400
point.
cars a day.
That's my
It's
point.
537 or something like that.
Whatever it is.
Okay, sorry.
Bicycle.
Oh, the other one was a bicycle. Well, but.
I'll second
but-
that.
All right. Well, yeah, I think you already did for discussion, didn't you?
Oh, you want to do a motion? You wanna do
I
a
already
motion?
did the motion.
Motion
Second.
second.
All right. Ready for the vote?
Yeah.
Aye.
So what are we voting on? To go ahead and approve it all?
Go ahead
To put 'em
and
into the
approve it,
PRP
Come back with a
list.
modification of the,
Basically, that they meet the criteria of the PRP,
yeah.
and they do.
So let's come back with a, rapidly, before we get another dead-end road, correction to the policy.
We'll bring the policy back for discussion.
Thank you.
Nay. 2-1 again.
I'm trying to work with you on this, but I want to get it. All right. Okay, what is next? Public Works, consider motion, PRP, and
We're ready for the
presentation and discussion.
work
Work
session.
session.
Do we need to adjourn to go?
No,
We can just stay in session?
we'll stay in
All
session.
right, good deal.
I would like to take just like.
Although I did
All
get
right.
a
Maybe
base,
like a
Recess?
Like a 2 or 3 minute.
yeah,
recess.
I got, well, that never be, but I got a basic thing here.
The agenda.
The agenda.
Agenda?
Yeah, I've asked Becky to put the agendas from the city meetings in your
Yes.
inboxes.
But it doesn't do me any good if I'm reading Prairie Gardens Phase 1 Benefit District Resolution if I can't read on it. But it doesn't have anything I'm voting on anyway. So I guess it's just nice, but it'd be, nice to have stuff that goes along with it, but that's a lot of paper, so forget the idea.
Yeah, that would be some voluminous packets. I thought this would just let you know there are
Yeah.
items. If you saw something on there that you were interested in, you wanted the
I agree with
information, be happy to have
I agree with
Becky pull that off their website for you.
Sounds good. Let's take a short brief here for doing whatever we gotta do during that
A
short.
recess?
Yep. Back in session doing a work session on secondary roads.
All right, I'm not going to read this verbatim. I assume everybody's
That's
had
good. I've
a
read
chance
that.
to read it.
Yes.
Public Works has prepared a draft 10-year CIP plan. Our goal is 50 miles over the next 10 years. First focus will be on roads that have 350 and higher traffic count. After we get those addressed, we'll go down and start looking at roads that have 250 and higher traffic counts. We are on schedule this year to do about 8 miles in 2018, from gravel to hard surface. Our proposed plan will hard surface 3 to 5 miles per year from 2019 through 2026. The draft is based on the following assumptions. No additional sales tax bonds will be issued. This is a pay-as-you-go plan with no additional debt required. Construction of Eisenhower would be delayed until 2030. The Eisenhower project will be submitted to MARC in March for consideration of funding. A minimum of $500,000 a year will be budgeted in the road and bridge budget, and a minimum of $200,000 a year will be budgeted in the local service budget. All of that would go to road improvement projects. So those are the assumptions that we created this plan with. What we need today, what we're hoping for today is some direction from the board. If they like our assumptions, if they want to go a different route with our assumptions. Our plan is to, whatever comes out of this meeting today, to have a 10-year plan put together by the time we start working on our 2019 budgets.
I'd rather see a 5-year plan to include all these roads.
You want to do 50 miles in 5 years instead of 10?
Yes,
You gotta borrow a lot of money.
That's right.
that's
For
fine.
that.
You wanna borrow money.
Nope,
Well,
I'm not gonna.
There's a resolution, 2014-41, said the county would bond up to $40 million for these projects.
May bond up.
That's
Say
right.
will. No will in there.
Well, I think it's time the people on the secondary roads see something from this sales tax. I mean, we've gave money to industrial parks, we've gave money to these 10 two projects, I mean, the three projects that was on the ballot, and it also mentioned secondary roads.
Let's see, what that sheet said, work session material only, capital improvements. Somewhere in here I read something about secondary roads.
That's right.
That's what we're doing here. We're trying to,
Well, talking about it's not doing it.
yeah, but we're trying to protect our money. This is our money. This
Right.
97 million is our money. We've given away already $10 million, okay? That we didn't have to give. We gave away $5 million to Leavenworth, $5 million to Tonganoxie. We politically accepted the fact that these were the three roads that sold the program. These were not the three roads that sold the program. The people sort of, I said, I'm going to say, liked the 10-year programs. Now, I don't think that these three roads were what sold the program. People were interested in, most of these people, they don't go around assuming debt. Hey, I want a new house. I want a $269,000 house because this $45,000 house, and they get themselves in a debt where it's wasting money. I think we've gone ahead with some programs here. The only thing I didn't see on here was, I thought it was a darn good report. It says right here, I don't know why I wrote that in there, because I really didn't want to compliment you, think you were doing something. And the right-of-way south on 20th, New Lawrence Road, for new access south wasn't in here. I don't know whether you do 2 parcels a year, but somewhere to advance that road south. But other than that, I thought it was an outstanding program. It's on a cash basis.
Well, I remember, can I
Yes.
make a statement here? Several years ago, when I was pushing 207th Street, I asked the sheriff, I asked EMS, I asked several people, maybe even asked Doug, what is the one thing that we need in roads for the county? And they said, we need north and south
North and
roads.
south, that's correct.
Yeah.
North and south roads.
Mhm.
And that's why I pushed 207th Street.
Yeah.
And I still believe that we need some north and south roads.
And now the people come in on the east and west road.
Right.
Because the
And
traffic's going-
we started on 235th Street several years ago,
Right.
and that's never been completed. And that would connect 2 state highways to 2 state highways if we completed it.
Yeah, there's a section of that will be on our next week's.
Right.
For
But I'm
award.
just saying, it's, KDOT participated in it. It was important enough for KDOT to participate in a couple miles,
Yeah.
but we never finished it out.
Sure would have liked to.
Right, and then like I said,
I still
if
would
Mr.
like to-
Lujan is successful in getting some marked money to help with Eisenhower, that's going to free up some funds.
Right?
But that means we'll have to do Eisenhower.
Well, we wait for that time. We don't
Well, I have
to
faith
respond
he's going to be
before.
successful in getting some funding.
Well,
I think he
I want
will
to
be.
go out and borrow $97 million today.
And that's not what the resolution says.
No,
It
let's
says
get it,
40
let's change the
million.
resolution. Let's go out, I want to borrow, 97 minus 22.4.
Mhm.
Okay, I want to go out and borrow tomorrow, and, no, I've been in business since 1976. And most of that time, I was able to stay out of debt. And now that I'm extremely mature, I find myself in debt. I don't like it. Debt is not good. Don't you smile, Joe.
He ain't smiling, he's laughing.
Yeah, no, he's laughing. But debt is good for the bankers, savings and loans, but it sometimes is not good. You've brought it up several times. How much interest have we paid? I don't like that.
76
$763,000.
Yeah, 763.
But that money was borrowed before any of the projects started, or before we was even collecting any sales tax. We're collecting sales tax money now.
Yep.
And
One of the reasons why we went with the pay-as-you-go is obviously the board had previously discussed that was their preference, so that's what we proposed. One of the challenges with issuing debt, obviously, is paying the finance charges and the issuance costs. And we estimate that at the end of the sales tax, by issuing debt now, we could get these road projects, we could speed them up, get them done quicker. But by the end of the project, you're deferring or not being able to accomplish at all probably another $12 to $15 million worth of road projects that you won't be able to do because you're paying interest on it. And I think that was what the board discussed previously. But as far as staff goes, if you issue the debt, obviously we've put some projects on here that we've prioritized as staff and would like to see, so we have a working program going forward. If it's accelerated, that's fine. That's what the board decides to do but by issuing the debt. What we're looking here is, from a direction standpoint, is this the direction you want to go? You understand where we're coming from with prioritizing the roads. We're trying to show what we estimate for budget, identifying when the funds would be available, so that we have a plan, and we're not just Bob comes in and has a road project in his district that he wants done, but it doesn't make sense as far as the plan goes. It's just Bob wants that road done.
Right.
We're trying to avoid those things, and that's what this is for, so that Bob knows, well, that road's down here in 8 years, versus moving it to the top of the list.
And it isn't going to stop the secondary road. We're still going on with other roads here.
This is all about the secondary road.
Yeah, this is all of it, you know. And Eisenhower comes in there when it comes in. Now, you know, you can get a lot of dissertation on Eisenhower and why it needs to be done. And then somebody brought up, well, why not do it to 20th Street? You know, well, that's going to cost a lot of extra money. That street is not dying today. And I am the longest business that's been on that road. Nobody's been on longer. Walmart wasn't there, none of them. Drive-in was just taken out. It brings back a lot of memories. But, so the Ford drive-in. So, there's Joe smiling.
Okay.
You don't remember those days.
It isn't going to kill Eisenhower, and the truck traffic coming out of the industrial park that we have paid half for is only going 100 to 150 yards.
Okay.
That's it.
And I agree that, you know, Eisenhower needs to be tabled till we find out whether we're going to get some funding. If we can get funding from the Mid-America Regional Council, we will have to speed it up.
We may have to speed it up.
Yeah, right. And we should. I mean, if somebody's going to pay 50% of the project, we should do whatever we got to do to get that money.
That's right. So it may be worthwhile to speed it up at that time.
Okay.
Because they're coming across with $4,500,000.
But Mr. Lujan came here, he was asking for $500,000 for road and bridge and 200 and some thousand for local service. That's going to be a little over $1 million increase.
This is all based on the sales tax, correct?
All based on sales tax.
No.
No.
The assumptions include 500,000 in road and bridge and 200,000 in local.
Yeah, so you're talking increasing the mill.
Well, maybe not necessarily.
You're talking about an increase in the mill levy?
Well, if he needs an additional $500,000 to put in road and bridge, another 200,000.
How are you going to increase the mill levy if we have a tax levy?
Well, that's why I think we should use sales tax money to do these roads.
Well, we're using a combination of both. And the local service had 180,000 in it this year, so the local service portion, as long as that's carried forward.
Oh, you're not talking about an additional?
No.
No.
I was going to say, you're going to have an election because it's got to be, go to the citizens of Leavenworth County.
Right.
And you're going to go out there and say, will you vote to raise your mill levy? First of all, some of them's gonna ask, what's a mill levy?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure everyone that lives on a secondary road would probably say yes,
Yeah.
but I don't want to do that. I'd rather do it.
I don't wanna do it either.
I don't even
because
want
I
to,
don't
I don't
wanna
even
get
want to
shut
put it up
down.
for a vote. I don't want to, I don't want to see the mill levy
We're going
raised.
ahead much faster than it's been done in the past. We're doing a lot of secondary roads here.
Well,
They're on
that's
the
because
program.
we've
We're not
failed to
one that
keep
counts.
up over the years. I mean, we've allowed building permits to be issued and get these traffic counts up, and we haven't done nothing to keep up with the secondary roads.
Well, I'm gonna guarantee you that get them all blacktopped and everybody gets built. on
No, I didn't
square
say all
foot.
of them blacktop.
It is not gonna pay for itself because homes, I sat down listening to this gentleman who was county commissioner, talking to this guy, explaining how much his taxes paid on his road, and it was very little.
Right.
And the gentleman thanked him and left and said, I now understand.
But at the same time, we have a shortage of houses because people are overpaying for houses right now. And that's all that's doing is driving up everybody else's appraisals because they're based on comparable sales.
So, I liked it, other than you didn't add any, there was nothing in there about taking, New Lawrence Road south.
Correct. The main focus right now is on gravel roads.
Yes.
Existing roads.
Somewhere, I think, planning ought to be another major north-south road. And if Leavenworth does the north end of 20th Street, and we can get the Army to allow them to use the 24 and 7, the west entrance to the base, but they're supposedly watching their budget. It's only open on certain hours. Then it doesn't make them go down and go Metropolitan to come in. They can go right onto the base, and they got their cards and they got their stickers on their bumpers, and it solves the problem of people coming from Kansas City to Leavenworth because they, in 2032, they can come up, what do you call it, road, from County Road 8. So, I like this, I like it. So what are you needing from us?
Well, again, I think what Mr. Luchin was asking is, do you approve of the approach? Is there anything that you'd like us to see do differently with this plan so that they can continue to refine it and get it ready for the budget? This is really part of the budget process. We're
Right.
talking about getting ready for their budget presentation, and that's what they're asking for here. So if you support this and support the format, we're good. We don't need anything else. If you would like us to see.
You don't need a motion of consensus or something?
Not on this. This is,
Not on
we're
this.
going to continue.
Well, I'd like to see it prepared just in case there is bonds sold to do some of these roads.
Well, and I think we can do that at any time. If we
I
do
just
sell
want to
bonds.
make sure we got projects ready to go.
Right.
And
I don't think it changes the priority of the projects for the next, if we have 10 now and you want to see that accelerate at 5, we just condense it and move it back. But it doesn't change the priority of the projects by issuing it. So we're trying to identify about 10 years out, because that's what it takes for funding. If you came back and said, no, let's do it in 5, we're going to issue debt, it would still be the same projects. We would just move them back.
I think if
Condense the project.
if we're successful on getting some Mid-America Regional Council money on Eisenhower, I think we should really
I think
accelerate.
that would obviously have to move up.
Yep.
There's
Well,
going
and
to
like I said,
there'd be
we-
a time frame where we have to do that project in order to qualify for those grant
Right.
funding
Yeah,
if we
that's-
receive it.
And when you're selling
2021,
bonds,
2022,
you
you
still
have
have
to
to
have
issue debt, and then just be the time to issue debt to do these secondary roads, which I think today would be the day to issue debt to do some of these secondary
When's
roads.
the awarding of that bid? Or of the grant process, I mean?
It'll be later this summer.
And but the grant funding will be available,
2021, 2022.
so it'll be
We still have a couple.
21, 22 for letting, and then 23 for completion, probably somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's still 4 years.
3 or 4 years now.
before we would be in that position.
Oh, well, then we got plenty of time to work on these secondary roads right now then.
Well, that's kind of what we're saying by putting Eisenhower on hold and directing more of that money towards the gravel roads.
On all of
I
our-
support that.
On all of our roads where we have counters, do we have cameras?
Cameras?
Cameras.
No, typically, we do traffic counts on gravel roads every 2 years. We have tube counters that we put out. We have probably about 10 tube counters that we put out around the county. So they're not perfect, but they give us a good idea of what's out there.
But you still use the radar counter if there's something in question.
Yeah, we have 2 radar counters, so if we can hang that out, but we only have 2 of those, so if we question a count, we can go out and check it.
I question that.
Yeah, well, the radar counters cost several $1,000s a piece, so
Yeah.
we're limited on how many of those we can purchase.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody?
Just think it's time we spend some money on these secondary roads, because that's part of the sales tax. And I think that was part of the, help get it passed.
We just didn't get a vote on it.
What?
We just didn't get a vote. You want to do a vote on this? That we go ahead with this program and stick to it and don't deviate? Okay. That concludes the session. We're done.
All right.
Very good.
Are we
Jerry
adjourned?
got out here before noon.
You're right.
We shouldn't have took that break, Mark.
Oh,
Could've got out here.
Shoot, I thought we were gonna be.
Oh, no, we're gonna have to reopen.
He never closed, he didn't adjourn yet.
I never made no motion
Well,
to adjourn.
he didn't make a motion, that was a false thing on the chairman's, so let's go ahead, we haven't adjourned.
Wait a minute, she's not ready.
I'm ready.
You're getting the doghouse there.
The dog had, and I had it sitting right there.
Yeah, I was wondering why you didn't have your copy.
Sitting right there. Oh,
That's why I had it laid out here, so.
whenever you're ready. Okay. So, we're back in session now. We have a bill here from Fisher, Patterson, Saylor, and Smith, LLC. The amount of the bill is $6,665.88. You know, we think we have judges that, and I just can't resist this, being able to say there are incompetent judges on all levels. If we can't get this gentleman to make a decision, I think he's adding to his retirement, this judge. Because it's constantly, what, 11, then it's 12, and then it's 11, and then it's 6. Plus you got the law, other law firms that other people are paying, and it just goes on and on. So I'll entertain a motion to pay that amount to this law firm. And I'll ask, Bob, did you want to?
No.
I'll make the motion to pay the bill of $6,665.88 to the law firm, Fisher, Patterson, Slayer, and Smith. No relation?
Yeah, I'm gonna second that. Another discussion. If I vote no and Bob votes no, not to pay him, does that create another lawsuit? Yes, it creates another lawsuit.
Several. What I want to ask is, could I ask a question
Yes.
before we vote?
Yep.
Fisher, Patterson, Saylor, and Smith, that is the law firm that is representing One Beacon, our insurance carrier. So why isn't One Beacon paying for this bill?
Good question. I see a hand. Go ahead.
Commissioner, because of the vagaries, which I choose not to, or prefer not to get into in this case, One Beacon is providing some of your legal services. Fisher, Patterson, Saylor, and Smith is providing others. It was a decision made by this board earlier to have Fisher, Patterson, Saylor, and Smith assist Anderson and Bird, who was selected by One Beacon. One Beacon has subsequently agreed to pay part of Fisher Patterson Sadler Smith's bills.
So we have really three individuals. We have One Beacon, of course, paying probably Fisher Patterson, same as we are. And then we have the law firm out of Ottawa.
That's one, Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, in an ideal world, you would retain the services of an attorney for a trust and/or a will, and then estate services. We don't live in an ideal world, so you do have attorney's fees.
Glad you clarified it up. It's not an ideal world. How you vote?
Aye.
How you vote?
Nay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
We use another lawsuit, just money. Can't say that word in public. Come on, Judge, get off your dead, you know what? Aye. The last time I'm voting aye. You tell that to the judge, okay? I don't care how you get the word to him. I'm fed up with it. And I don't care how you get that word to him. Tell him this all comes from Louis Clamp, not from the legal world that has total respect for incompetency. I'll stand for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
I will second that.
Okay, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.